Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we got a fun little episode planned here for the last episode of 2024. We are recording this on the 30th, right before the end of the year. And do you want to give them the rundown of what we're doing here?
Yes, I sure can. So to wrap up the year of 2024, what we're going to do is we collectively together here we have put together a list of the top 50 players in the NHL currently. So what kind of went into this is not only where players at now, kind of it's our list heading into the year of 2025. So not only kind of where players are at now and in the league and how they're producing, but also kind of a little bit of going over the past, looking back at the past couple of seasons to kind of help maybe break it down between a couple guys who were kind of close with each other. So we're like, hey, you know what? Instead of being like right now, let's look a little bit back and see who's had the better track record. So that's kind of where we are at with this.
Yeah,
I think we did an alright job. I think obviously there's
yeah.
going to be people that are going to disagree. There's always going to be people that disagree. We know that. But in terms of this list, I think we got at least 45 that should be in the top 50. If there's a couple you think maybe shouldn't be in some, yeah, that's fine. That's fair. But that's where we're at. We came up with this list, and that's what we're doing today. That's how we are ending the year of 2024 with our list of the top 50 NHL players heading into the year of 2025.
I think we did a really good job putting the list together. We didn't even agree on quite a couple of ones in there. There was a couple rankings where we were shuffling around and stuff, but all in all, I think it at least generally makes sense. Give or take a few spots. Unfortunately, as you get closer to the end, some guys didn't make it. I really wanted to see if Brandon Hagel would make the list, but when you're listing all the guys at 48, 49, 50, it was just too high of a level of play for him to get in there based on the last 3-ish seasons. But I guess Brundi, do you want to kick us off with our one honorable mention before we get to number 50?
Yeah, so I'm looking through and there's a bunch of guys that aren't on this list. We could have 100 honorable mentions, really, right?
Yeah.
We went with one because there should only be one. Our one honorable mention is Alex Ovechkin. It's kind of weird. But when you start going through it now, looking at it, I think if you were doing top, goal scorers, he's probably top 5. But at this point now, when you just start going through, there's just so many other guys that unfortunately pushes Ovi out of the list. But still a great player in his own right. And if you have him in your top 50 anywhere, we wouldn't argue with it.
He's an honorable mention for a reason there. It's just, over the past few years, we're going on a 3-ish year recency bias on that. And, his play has been declining. Not like he's going to get scratched or anything, but like he's, it's on the downswing up until this year where he started bringing it back before getting injured. I believe he came back last night or earlier today, actually, but
he's been back for 2 games and he's got 2 goals in those 2 games. So
one of them an empty netter, but 2 and 2.
Yeah, could Vero be on the list? You know what? If we could easily make an argument for him being on this list, but looking at players as a whole, again, this list also does include defensemen and goalies, and where those guys are ranked is kind of weird, right? Because it's kind of weird to be like, this goalie's higher up on the list than like this forward, but it's like when we're kind of going through, it's kind of like just focusing on where the forwards, where the defense, and where the goalies are ranked, and that's kind of they're in the top 50 list, but they're kind of put into their own categories, so to speak. So that's kind of why Ovi, I think, really got bumped out, is the large number of defensemen and goalies that take up this list.
Well, majority defensemen, actually, because I definitely thought there would be more goalies on this list, but I believe we only have 5. But right
I
now is a
think so.
right now is not a phenomenal time for goalies. Every single year, goal scoring goes up, the average save percentage goes down. Like
Yeah.
it's harder and harder to be an elite goalie in this league. Like I believe it was back in 2015 is when save percentages peaked in kind of a modern sense, and it was at a 915 was the average. Your average goalie had a 915. That is like straight up elite if you finish the season with a 915 now.
Yeah.
So
Depending on games played.
depending on games played, yeah. If you're a starter, yeah. But with all that said, let's get right into the list. We're gonna go from 50 to 1. Number 50, we have Clayton Keller. I like this one was really tough. These last few were really tough because it started really showing some of the guys that were not going to make the list, guys that were getting cut, and we were just looking at him. It's just Keller's just too damn good, man. Like
Yeah.
a guy of that skill level being 50 is wild. Like
On a not very good team, I'll add as well.
yeah, captain of his team. Also, I relearned that the other day, seeing a clip of him play. I kind of forgot that he got the C in Utah, but he's been so good for them for a couple of years now, and obviously he has to drive those lines as well. So, really underrated player. I could easily in the next few years see him moving up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think once the talent that's on Utah starts to kind of develop, and Keller, not just like that Keller gets elevated by his line mates, but having just better players to play with. Like how many years did he go with playing with guys that are no longer in the league, right? And not because they retired due to old age, just because they fell off a cliff, or they
Yeah,
only had a small window. So as the talent around him gets better, like the game's gonna become much easier for him, as he's not gonna have to carry everything on his own. So
yeah. I like Keller as a 50. I'm glad we got him on the list because it felt weird. He felt more out of place being off the list than anyone else that was close to it.
yeah, I agree.
Uh, do we want to just go back and forth? Do we want to just you do 49, I do 48? Keep going.
Let's do like intervals of 5.
Can do. Uh, moving on to 49, then we got Mackenzie Weegar of the Calgary Flames. Dude is
Very
unreal.
underrated. Like
Yeah, and
49 and is still underrated.
yeah, and we're probably gonna say that about a lot of guys on this list, but like Uyghur really is a defenseman who can do it all at an elite level.
Yeah,
Like last year he had what 20 goals. Like I think he had like 10 by like late November or like halfway through December or something. Like it was
yeah.
crazy.
He
So
got off to a really, really hot start last season, and still playing really good this season too. I'll have to pull up his numbers here, but I believe like still very good. Um, goal total's gone down a bit. 36 games played, 4 goals, 15 assists for 19 points. Uh, is a +6. Is his entire career he's basically been a plus guy. Only had the 1 year -3 in 64 games with Florida. So other than that, he's been a plus guy his whole career.
which is really impressive because I mean most guys have at least a couple early years where they where they have a minus. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of wild. But and he was on some like when did he come into the league? How long was he
Uh,
with the Florida Panthers?
2016, 2017, he came in and played 3 games, and then played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons with the Panthers.
Okay, so he was probably there for a couple of seasons where the Panthers were still not very good. So good on him for being a plus player. Um,
And if you're a defenseman that can
yeah,
tuck 20, yeah, you're gonna land in the top 50 here.
yeah, that doesn't come around too often. Number 48, John Tavares. Like, dude is crazy consistent.
Yeah,
he had to make the list. I was surprised how close he was to not making it. Honestly, like he's in his last like 3 seasons, like 3 points under a point per game, exactly a point per game. Last year, 15 points under a point per game. It took a little bit of a step back, but still 65 and 80. Like, dude's been very consistently close to a point per game basically his whole career, like going back until like, like, yeah, like straight up his rookie season in 2009 was the last
Yeah.
time he was anywhere like further than like 10 points away from it. So, and
Yeah.
he's got 37 and 36 games this year, already at 18 goals as well. Usually he's a bit more of a playmaker. So, couple
And
that
you go
with
back 2
leadership.
seasons ago, like the 22-23 season. Well, tough to say leadership right now, revolving him. Still a great leader though. Going back 2 seasons, like 80 games played, 80 points, 36 goals, 44 assists.
Yeah.
He's basically he's been like the best second line center in the entire league this season. I feel like so. You
Yeah.
know, probably doesn't make the list. I think if he was around, if like in 36 games he's around like that 25 mark, kind of like what he was last year, you can make an argument that he probably isn't on the list. And honestly, Ovi probably slides in. But the way he's been playing this season, despite getting the C stripped off him, how can you not have him on this list? Like
He's
he's
been,
been having a hell of a year.
yeah. And we'll move on to number 47 here. We got Sebastian Aho, the forward Sebastian Aho on the Carolina Hurricanes. Uh, we had him so much higher when we first started. Like we were saying like, does he crack the top? When we were first talking about the idea of this, we were like, does he crack the top 20? And then we were kind of like, maybe the 20 to 25, and then it was the 25 to 30, and all of a sudden he ended up at 47, uh, which very it felt surprising, but I mean, there's just so many good players that kind of kept pushing and pushing him down. Uh, like honestly, like we might have put him too low, but you know what? We have our list. We said what we said.
We
Uh,
might have, but
but
eh,
last 3 seasons here, 67 points in 75 games, 89 and 78. This season he's 38 for 36. So around a point per game, very similar to John Tavares. He's been very consistent in the playoffs as well, apparently. He's got 12. These are his last 6 playoff runs for points: 12, 12, 11, 11, 12, 12. So he's been very consistent for them in the playoffs as well, which is always good to see. And he plays a great two-way game.
yeah, his two-way game has really blossomed over the last little while. So
That's
like
that
I
part's making me think maybe we had him a little low, but looking at
But
the guys
you
above
you
him,
start
it's
going through the guys that are up ahead, and it's like, and this was kind of the part of the list where it's a little bit of a weird stretch because the next like 5 consist of goalies and defensemen. So it's like, yeah, like could be top 40, but we kind of bumped them down because we wanted to give a little bit of love to defensemen and goalies because we don't have as many on the list. So,
yeah.
and the forward that he's right behind, if you're just looking at the forwards, like that's not a bad guy to be behind, honestly. But
No.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
And number 46, we'll get to Ilya Sorokin, the first goaltender that shows up here. We have him as the 5th best goaltender over the last few years, currently in the NHL. Yeah, I mean, dude, when he is on, is an absolute rock star. But he
Yeah.
got pushed down by a couple of bad stretches. Notoriously,
He
that last playoff run that he had. But
Yeah, like he
he's still
suffers
there.
from the due to the team he's on. Like if he's on any of the other goalies that are above him, like if he's on that team, he's probably much higher on this list. But really what kind of knocked him down was the fact that he kind of got hurt a little bit towards the end of last season, and then Varlamov came in and was playing so good. And when Sorokin came in, he wasn't playing good. So it was actually Varlamov that kind of carried the Islanders not only to making the playoffs and getting in, it was actually their goalie in the playoffs. Playing much better than Sorokin in their playoff games. So great goalie, can easily climb this list, but as of right now, yeah, he's got to be below these other guys. So
It's it's really crazy, and I don't think he had an injury or anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost
no, he did. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but he
okay.
had a little.
I'll say his
Yeah,
stat line really looks like it because like this year he's an 898 so far. The year before that, all of these seasons he's playing starter amounts of games. 898 this year, 909 last year, but before that, 924 in over 60 games, and then a 925 before that. So the fall off was pretty stark. So you got to wonder if is there something going on there? I mean, it's
it's
just a
just the
team.
team. It's the team in front. Like you look at the Islanders when he's putting up those. That's when the Islanders were like one of the top teams in the East, not because of talent, just because of good coaching and the system they had just worked. Like you look at Shesterkin's numbers this year, and it's not indicative of his play. It's really because I mean, is he playing as good as he normally could? No, but it's kind of largely part and due to the team in front of you and their inability to play a proper defense, really, for the NHL level.
Yeah, it's not been a great situation, but they know he's still a guy there, and
Yeah,
he still steals games routinely. Some games it's not as good, some games it's still he looks back to form. So it was weird to place him, but we have him at 46 here, and that is the fifth best goalie in the NHL in our estimation. So either way, it's still pretty good.
yeah. Moving on, number 45. We're going back to Calgary. Rasmus Anderson.
I mean, yeah, like dude, he's very similar to Mackenzie Weegar, funny enough, also on the Flames, in that
They're
he's
very similar. Um,
just the way,
and
yeah, the way they play is they're both so good at both ends of the ice.
and the reason Anderson gets a little bit of the bump is just more of a physical game. Like if I'm looking at two defensemen that are, not the exact same, but relatively similar, but one plays a more physical game, you're going to take the defenseman that plays with a little more physical edge, and not in like the dirty sense, just hard hits, getting in the dirty areas. Um, that's just kind of what you look for. So
Yeah, and you know what? Uyghur kind of broke out a little bit in the last year and a half. Um, Anderson's been very good for a solid amount of years at this point, at least 4 seasons. So
yeah,
gives him a little bit of an edge there. But yeah, I like he's a really fun defenseman to watch. Like it's fun watching guys get up there in the play almost like an offensive defenseman, but you never have to worry about him just like completely blowing his assignment. Like he
yeah,
only takes those opportunities when he knows they're presented in a way that the other team isn't gonna all of a sudden run the other way with it.
yeah. Number 44, going back to Utah, not Arizona, Utah. Mikhail Sergachev. I'll let you take the reins on this because you watch a lot of Sergachev, so you're very familiar with his game here.
Yeah, and I'm so glad to see he's doing incredibly well with the Utah Hockey Club. It was so good for the Lightning for several years. It's crazy that he's only 26 years old because he's played professional hockey like in the NHL level since 2016, which is madness. Um, yeah, like he's a great playoff performer. He put up great regular season numbers. Last year he actually just passed his games played already this year from last year because he had two separate injuries. Um, but the year before that, 2022-23 is when he really broke out. 64 points in 79 games as a defenseman. Uh, that's the year that everyone was saying Hedman had a down year. Hedman's regressing. He's going backwards. No, it's because he got less opportunities, which sounds insane, but they couldn't take Sergachev off the top power play. He was so good. Like they had to give Sergachev the minutes. He was kind of undeniable that year. So yeah,
And he's another one of those guys that kind of plays with that nastiness and that like
yeah,
just that extra little edge that you'd like to have out of your defenseman, especially in their own end. So
yeah, 100%.
definitely deserves to be on this list, and
Yeah,
terrific player. And I mean, the way he's looking with Utah, he can easily climb these lists. So um,
yeah.
dogs are
20
going ballistic. So I'll let you do 43 here for us.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, 27 points this year in 35 games for Sergachev as well. So I that looks like it'll be around his 64-point career high there. So we'll see if he can break his own record this season. After Sergachev at number 43, we got the second goalie showing up here, the fourth best goalie in the league, UC Saros of the Nashville Predators. This dude has been so good for a couple years now, and it's so funny hearing people talk about him because it sound like everyone brings him up with the caveat of like he's a short goalie, and like I don't know, it almost feels like people talk down about him in that way in some sense, like as if he's like doing good for his size or something, but like he's just a good goalie, man. Yeah, sure he's short, but like it's not like he's like, oh yeah, he's the best of the small goalies and that puts him 15th in the league or something. Like no, he's just like the fourth best goalie in the league. Like over the past few years, this year he's at 903, which honestly pretty impressive given how bad the Predators have been. Year before that, 906, 919, 918, 927. Like he's got some really elite numbers, 916 over his career.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's to the point where Nashville felt comfortable giving him that extension, trading away a guy like Askarov. So
yeah,
he's he's been exactly what they needed, especially coming off a guy like Pecorine, who is good for so many years. To have this guy here was able to just come in and everything clicked, and he's been yeah, like people love to talk about the height thing with him, but really doesn't matter. He's just as good as any other goalie on any given night. So
and he's one of the few guys in the league that plays like old school starter numbers of games too. There's a couple of guys in the league left that still do that. Vasilevsky, Connor Hellebuck, UC Saros, Shesterkin. Like, there's not a ton of them, but they all play like 65 games a season. Like they play a lot of games. Like he had one year, he was a 918, 67 games played. Like that
yeah,
very rarely happens in today's NHL. So they know they can rely on him as well in Nashville.
yeah. Moving on, number 42. This is a guy that's really climbed the rankings over the last couple of seasons and has definitely earned his place on this list.
Yeah.
That is Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, he's been so good for them. Honestly, did he get a Norris finalist finish? Was he a finalist 1 or 2 years ago? I think it was.
I don't believe so. I
I
could
think
be wrong.
yeah. I think it was 2 years ago where I really thought he should have at least been a finalist. Where he had 76 points in 78 games as a defenseman, and that's before the
Yeah.
Winnipeg Jets really broke out and became this team that they are this year, this juggernaut. Like they were good, but
Well, even last year is kind of when it started for the team to really, um, flourish and everything was going. And that's largely due to, you know, they didn't have to go out and trade for a number one defense when they had a guy that took that next step. Like you look at, from 2019 to 2020, season by season, 31 points, 21 points in 56 games, 37 points in 79 games. All of a sudden, boom, 76 and 78. Last year, 69 and 81. This year, 34 and 37. Like, just out of nowhere, he took that next step and that leap. And, like, that's huge. If you're sitting there as a team that was in dire need of a number one defenseman, So, and you're kind of looking around at who you can trade for. Maybe a guy like Sergachev back then, if he was available. Like you're trying to find that guy, and then all of a sudden, this guy you've had for years, and that is already a leader in the room. Boom is right there. Like that's exactly what you want.
That's just unreal for them. And yeah, he's been so good. And a lot of people really thought, like, yeah, okay, he's had this one big year. He broke out fine. But a lot of people, I think, probably majority of people, assumed he would regress a good amount. But yeah, he's really maintained that borderline point per game pace. And also kind of elevated his defensive play somehow at the same time. So he's yeah, just an unreal defenseman, and he did not. Did he make Team Canada? I honestly don't even remember.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember the defenseman because they picked a couple of weird ones.
Yeah. 2023, he finished 5th in Norris voting, and then last year, 2024, he finished 7th, but is yet to be named a finalist.
Damn.
That's pretty crazy, actually. 76 points, 78 games, and he was 5th.
Yeah, like he was going off that year. I remember I was a huge proponent that he should at least be a finalist that year.
Yeah, should have it. Yeah, I agree. I was I think that was, that year I was pretty shocked, but I'd have to go back and look at that year who the finals were, because I think there's some pretty crazy
there has been
numbers put up by guys that year. But moving forward, we go on to number 41, New Jersey Devils, Jesper Bratt.
I don't doubt that if there's any Devils fans listening, that they clicked on this this episode thinking, like, I wonder if they have Bratt in the top 50. And yeah, we had to. Like, looking at his stats, he's been so good over the past several years at this point. I think a lot of people still think he's kind of a new guy on the block. He's still, a newly good player that's kind of recently broken out. No, he's been elite for 4 years now. Like 73 points, 83 points, 47 and 39. He might make a career high this year. Dude is straight up an elite player and an elite playmaker at that. Like he's playing with Jack Hughes, which helps. But he's had to play plenty of stretches without Jack Hughes, especially last year when Jack Hughes had some injury issues and he put up a career high with 83 points. So we know he can do it on his own, and just playing with Jack Hughes is going to make him so much better going forward as well.
Yeah. You perfectly summed it up. A terrific player, and the biggest thing was the whole, can he, he plays with Jack Hughes. Well, last year he put up insane numbers, and Jack Hughes missed a lot. That's a really big argument right there. So, very fair, and I'll let you kick it off here with number 40.
Number 40, a guy that you were real big on getting as high up as we could, and you know what? It makes a lot of sense. Number 40, Travis Konechny.
I fought to get him as high as we could, but 40, like, we got 40. I was like, I can't put him above any of these other guys. This was the perfect spot for him. Another guy that's earned the right to play for Team Canada at the Four Nations, well deserved. Going back to the last 4 seasons, or last 3, and then including this one, 52 points, 79 games, 61 points in 60 games, 68 points in 76 games last year, 33 goals, and this year 41 points in 37 games. Really kind of carrying a lot of the weight of Flyers offense. Not only that, he plays a gritty game. He gets in there, he mixes it up. He's, good two-way game. He kind of just does it all out there. Like, he doesn't excel in one category, but he's so good in like every category you want out of a player, except maybe faceoffs. He's not a centerman, but just a do it all type of guy, really.
Yeah, he really is, and like he's like a Brad Marchand type. How he plays like every part of the game, but he's even a little more physical than Brad Marchand is. Like he really he really does do pretty much everything you can ask out of a guy besides faceoffs. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, well deserved for him being on Team Canada as well.
Yeah, just a great fun player and a guy that, you know, so far in his career, had Drew for a bit, but has never really had a whole lot of talent around him. It's always kind of been him kind of having to carry whatever line he's on.
He's
And this
usually
is
the
kind of
best
his
guy on
like,
his line, like
yeah, and this is
throughout
kind of
his
like
career.
his first, like his, I think this is going to be like looking back in like 5 years, this will be the year that's like his big kind of breakout year if he keeps on the uh the pace he's on, because what is he at right now? 41 and 37. If he
Probably
plays
finish
all 82, like
90,
on pace for 90 points.
95, 90-ish points, probably around 37 goals, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's set to have a career year, and again, like he's the best guy on his team. Maybe some of those years with Giroux, sure, but he always has to try and elevate the guys around him. He's
Yeah.
not, Jesper Bratt's obviously incredible. We were just saying, but he's got a Jack Hughes to play with. Konechny does not.
Yeah.
So
But John, I'm very excited to see where Konechny goes in where they put him in the lineup in the Four Nations, because I'm just excited to see him play with, some real high end talent and see what he can do.
And obviously, in the next few years, he will be playing with that elite talent in Matvei Michkov, because,
Yeah.
Michkov is in the NHL. He's not quite that guy yet, but he's already pretty damn good. So
He's definitely gonna get there. Like, we
give
know
him
what
one
we're
or
gonna
2
be getting out of
years,
him. Yeah.
and then these two will be a really fun duo if they end up playing on the same line. I don't know if
Yeah.
either of them care to play over on the left side. I think they're
Yeah.
both right wingers, but
Michkov is left-handed, so
there you go.
makes it easier to put if you want to throw him on the left wing there.
Moving
39.
moving down to 39, we have Tim Stützle. Man,
So good.
we have so many. We have so many good
like
players to go through.
Yeah, the fact that he's at 39 shows like how just how many just elite level players are in this league now. Tim Stützle has been, a little bit of a down year last year, but I think kind of everyone on Ottawa did. And this year he's really, taken that next step. He's really kind of shown last year was just a bit of a down year. It happens, and
Yeah. The down year being 70 points in 75 games. So
exactly right. Yeah, like he's been a beast ever since he's come into this league, and he's one of those guys that as some older players start to drop down on this list, he's gonna climb this list.
287 points in his NHL career. He's 22 years old. Like that's pretty wild. 40 points in 36 games this year, 70 and 75 the year before, 90 points for 39 goals in 78 games the year before that. So that was obviously his career high in all those categories. But yeah, this year looks like he's going to finish around 85 to 90 points. Like him and Tkachuk really, really have to carry a lot of the load over there in Ottawa.
Yeah, I agree. Great player, and only going to get better. He's still so young.
Maybe work on the diving a little bit.
Yeah.
Number 38, we have Mark Scheifele. Do you want to lead the helm on this one? I know you're a pretty big Scheifele fan. You seem to have him every season in fantasy.
I grab him every year because he's just he's the gift that keeps on giving, right? Like, he is Mr. Consistency. He not only, is his physical game kind of, really started to blossom over the last little bit. Like, he plays a little gritty game and likes to mix it up, but like, like going back all the way to 2018-19, 84 points in 82, 73 and 71, 63 and 56. That was the COVID year, the Canada division. 70 points in 67, 68 and 81, 72 and 74, and this year 44 and 37. And then in the 22-23, he had 42 goals. Like he just solidly just puts up, aside from maybe the 1 year, but again, 42 goals that year. Point per game guy. He just goes out there, does his business. He's always scoring big goals for the team. It feels like he's
Yeah,
just a good player, right? Like he's everything you would want out of your first line center, really.
I thought he was older than he is. He's only 31.
Yeah.
I would have put him at 33, maybe 34. Honestly, like I definitely thought he was a bit older, but no, he's still got a lot left in the tank. Like low key, he's putting together a Hall of Fame career, at least enough to get a look. I don't
I
know.
think so.
I don't know if he gets there. There's a lot of great players that aren't in, but you know, uh, over 834 games, he's got 761 points. Under a point per game, but
I
38
I
and 42 playoff
love
games.
I love Shifley, but I would say for a Hall of Fame career when it's all said and done, um, he would need some kind of hardware, whether it's a personal one or even just having a Stanley Cup. I think you probably need at least one piece of hardware to um, really make the argument for him.
It also depends how long he keeps this pace up, right? Because right
That is
now,
also true. Yeah, assuming he just keeps doing the consistency thing that he does, and is just point per game guy, and good for at least 27 plus goals every year. Definitely going to hit that this year, but if he maintains it, yeah, I think there could be an argument made down the line. But great player and well deserving to be on this list, in my opinion.
we got a weird one coming up next. We got at number 37, we have Jason Robertson. We had no idea where to put Robertson on this
Yeah.
list. He's kind of like the beginning of a point where I feel like Robertson and down and then Shifley and up is kind of a splitting point of like I don't know, like they're both elite, but like a different level of elite. Like as
Yeah.
you'll see with some of the next guys we're about to list are like they're they're guys that nobody's saying isn't elite. And Jason Robertson has been so good over the past 4 years. 79 points in 74 games. Broke out huge with 109 and 82 with 46 goals. Um, Last year, his point totals went down. He's still at 80 and 82, but his two-way game improved huge. Like there were talks about him for like Selke consideration, not winning, but he got some votes. And then this year, 25 and 35. Uh, so his scoring's gone down since that big breakout year, but he's become such a two-way force for the Dallas Stars. Uh, it's so hard to judge because he really does not have consistency, especially considering we just looked at a guy like Shifley. Like he could be so good, but he could also be very inconsistent.
Yeah, and the two-way game helps. And the biggest thing with Robertson, you can look at this as kind of a knock on him, or as like a damn, it's impressive that he's able to do this. He's doing this as one of the slowest players in the entire league. Like
Yeah,
you look at the advanced stats, like he's on pace with guys like Pat Maroon in terms of like top speed.
yeah.
So that kind of sums up right there. So like, yeah, it's a knock on him that like shit, his skating isn't very good, but it's also then like, damn, he's able to do this while skating like a Pat Maroon. No, not to Pat Maroon though, three-time Stanley Cup champion.
Of course.
So I think he's well deserving on here. I think if he was at where he's at now, kind of maybe goes. You could make the argument to drop him down below maybe a Stutzel, a Konechny, a Brat. But the fact that his two-way game is really kind of excelled, it kind of evens out with the dip in offensive production. So
Uh,
I,
the,
I'm I'm
he
fine with him
also
here.
Yeah, I think he's
Like
good here. He fits in between kind of two different areas of the list, and also very good in the playoffs. 18 points in 19 games 2 years ago, and then last year 16 points in 19 games in the playoffs.
yeah,
So very good when it counts the most.
Yeah. And I think he's a guy that's really, this season, and I think it's probably this season. I think he'll get figured out next year. But it seems like there's a couple guys on the Dallas Stars that are struggling without Joe Pavelski with them now playing on their lines. Um, I mean, Pavelski was always good for 65 plus points, 25 plus goals. Losing that kind of production, that kind of leadership, and that play drive, uh, it hurts, and it's you know
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, it could all be figured out. It could be this season, like all the way through the season. But these guys will get it figured out. They're young. They got so much talent, and they'll find that next, chemistry that develops between players. And a guy like Robertson is going to have a long career. He's going to do just fine.
Number 36, we have Jake Gensel from the Tampa Bay Lightning. His first year with the Lightning, but man, he has been really good.
He's been good everywhere. Like, he was great with Pittsburgh for many years. He went to Carolina and dominated in that short stint. Comes to Tampa, a little bit of a slow start, but once he got things figured out there and got accustomed to their style of play and everything, his recent numbers speak for themselves. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
And he's like right up there with McDavid for me in how good his shot is, but how sneaky it is. He never looks like he's about to snipe on the goalie, and then he just does. It's so funny. Like, obviously, I watch basically all the Tampa games, so I know a lot more about Gensel than some of the other guys here. Every time he'll just walk over the blue line at the top of the circle, and it'll look like he's like giving up on the play. He'll just fucking throw the puck towards the net, and then it goes so fast and picks the corner, and it's like I can't even tell if he's doing it on purpose half the time. It's so weird.
Yeah,
Like,
he does have a terrific shot.
At times, I think I'm underrating him because I think he might be doing it on accident.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's
fair, yeah.
really weird the way he does it, but it's so effective. And yeah, in recent years, he's been so good. This year, 37 points, 20 of them goals in 33 games for the Lightning. Last year, 25 points in only 17 games once he got traded to the Hurricanes. Before that, 52 points in 50 games for the Penguins. So over a point per game for both the teams he played for that year. And then before that, 73 and 78, 84 and 76. So he's always been around a point per game, sometimes over, sometimes under a couple. 40 goals, 36 goals. This season, I mean, currently he's on pace to hit 45, 50 maybe?
Yeah,
20 and 33.
Could very well, yeah.
So, yeah, he's been unreal addition for the Lightning, and my God, like, we look so much better 5v5 now.
Yeah, he's been a it's again, like I said, it took a little bit to get going there, but once it has, it's clicked, and he's going to be a force with the Lightning for many years now, especially with some of the talent he's getting to play with as well. Definitely helps. Moving on, number 35. Who we got here? This is you at 35, right?
Oh, sure. I thought you were taking the reins because this was one of your boys. You love this guy. We are talking about Kyle Connor at number 35. Such a consistent goal scorer. Like one of the better skaters, one of the faster skaters in the league. 49 points in 37 games this year. 22 of them goals. But the year before that, 61 points, 34 goals, 80 points, 31 goals, 93 points and 47 goals the year before that. So like he's really reached some crazy numbers there. His goal scoring's been a little bit down the past 2 years, down being 31 and 34. So like still pretty damn good. But I have a feeling he breaks at least 40 again this year.
Yeah, I think he'll break the 40 mark this year. He's a guy that at some point I think is going to hit that 50 goal mark. Like, he got so close to that 47. Like you said, just his speed and his ability to see the ice and kind of, not only set up plays, but he can just be the guy to just shoot the puck and get the goal. He's a great guy on the power play. Like, he's exactly who you want there to be sitting there ripping pucks home for you on the power play. He's just exactly what Winnipeg needs on that top line with a guy like Scheifele, who is putting up a lot of goals, but Scheifele is normally kind of logging up some assists, and they're kind of, they're both doing a little bit of everything this year. They both got 22 goals, and Kyle Connor's actually got a little bit more assists than Scheifele, but, you know,
Yeah,
Kyle Connor is exactly, he's a safe bet for 30 goals. Uh, if he stays healthy, 75 points, and those numbers can even go higher.
yeah, and he is currently not on pace to hit 50 goals this year. He is on pace to hit 100 points this year, though, which he
Yeah.
has not done. So you know what? I'm sure he won't care too much about the goal totals if he hits 100 points on the season. So he's he's looking to have his best season yet, points wise, this year.
Yeah, couldn't have said any better. Moving on, number 34, we have Brady Tkachuk, one of the best power forwards in the game. Last few seasons, 67 points, 79 games, 30 goals, 83 and 82, 35 goals, 74 points in 81 games, 37 goals. And that was the year last year where he went 37 and 37 and basically was trying to carry that dead weight Ottawa team where no one was giving a shit anymore. And then this year, 35 points, 36 games. He's a consistent, like point per game guy. You're gonna get 30 goals out of him. Uh, Terrific leader, and he just plays a good power forward game and just mixes it up with the other team, whether it's fourth liners, star players. He just goes out there and creates chaos and opens up the ice a lot more for those around him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that feels like one of the last true power forwards. Like there's a lot of guys that go in there and kind of, you know, like a Brad Marchand type who, they go in there and they get their stick in there and they're fucking annoying to play against, but they're not quite a power forward, some of those guys. Brady Tkachuk he's that more Jerome McGinley style power forward where he will score against you, he will chirp you, he will hit you, he will drop the gloves and fight you. Like he does not care. He will do anything out there. Like
Best power forward in the game in terms of all around doing everything. I think so.
maybe. I guess it depends if you count any of these guys higher up on the list as a power forward.
As true power forwards, I'm not sure. I mean, it's in terms of like a power forward that does like everything. Like, there's no part of his game that you're like, oh, where that's missing, type of thing.
Yeah,
there's lots of power forwards, but you know what? When you kind of start going through some of these guys, a lot of them won't drop the mitts.
I was gonna say,
Brady
I'm looking at. I
drop
only
the
have
mitts
one
with everybody.
I only have one guy that I'm thinking is maybe a power forward above
What
him
number?
on our list. At number 22. So
it doesn't drop the mitts really, though.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? If you go 22, whatever, that's like the only other guy that is really on the same level, and rightfully so. Moving on, 33.
Yes, moving on to 33. We have Elias Pettersson.
68 points in 80 games in the 21-22. 102 points in 80 games, 39 tucks that year. Last year, 89 points in 82 games. This year, a little bit of a down year. 28 points in 34 games, 10 goals, 18 assists, and currently training to fight his teammate, allegedly. Rumors that are swirling out there. Don't know if they're real or not, but hey, worth like last year as well. Worth noting, you know what? 22, 23, 74 hits, 89 block shots. Last year, 125 hits, 68 blocks. This year, 33 hits, 39 blocks. He's averaging like a shot block of more than one per game so far this year, which, is pretty incredible for a guy like Elias Pettersson and a guy that's supposed to be like your franchise number one center that is to go out there and tuck, 30 goals, 90 plus points a year type guy. Also to be blocking shots and dishing out some hits is pretty nice work. Despite, the point totals being a little bit down this year.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that he's one of those guys that just demolishes the eye test, right? Like you just watch him and you're like, fuck, that guy's good. And I almost think that it hurts how people view him sometimes because his numbers aren't as flashy. And they'll be
Yeah, I agree.
like he'll put up 95-point season, but so many people are sitting there going, look how good he is. He should be 120-point guy. Like everyone, it's just, he is so clearly so good that
Yeah.
you just want to see more out of him because it's totally there. I have no idea why it's not clicking fully. And you know what? Consistently putting up 90-ish points in a season ain't bad. So while
Yeah.
playing a two-way game. So
And you know what? Pedersen's numbers are a bit down. Everybody on Vancouver, except for Quinn Hughes, numbers are down. Like Quinn Hughes is carrying a lot of that Canucks team right now. So, if you're dogging on Pedersen for his numbers being down, there's a lot of other guys you got to be looking to as well. So, and I still think he's a fantastic player. He's still going to get up to that. I think he's going to end the season around a point per game. I think he'll get it going when he gets back from his injury, and yeah,
yeah, I think he'll come back better. Number 32, we have Zach Werenski. I was campaigning pretty good to get him relatively high up on this list because man, this dude is so underrated. Like one of the best defensemen in the league, and so few people know about it because he plays on Columbus and he has his whole career. And Columbus just every once in a while they make some waves, but they haven't had a lot of guys winning individual awards or playoff success, so it's pretty tough to get noticed. But over the past few years, 39 points. This is all from the blue line, by the way, with that less than spectacular Columbus team. 39 points in 37 games this year, already at 11 goals. 57 points in 70 last year. The year before that, he had an injury that took him out almost the entire year, but he had 8 points in 13 games there, 48 points in 68 games. He's had 11 goals in a season, 5 times in his career. Probably 4, I guess one of them's this year, but like, dude is
he gets it done so every season. And I probably would have liked to have him a bit higher up in this list if it wasn't for that 13 game season. Not to his own fault. Like it's an injury. It could happen to any player, but it's just more so that there's larger sample size for other guys, if we're only kind of going off the last couple seasons prior to this one. By next year, if we do this list again, he's definitely going to be higher on this list. I think just not alone on how, great his numbers are going to look at the end of this season, but assuming he, kind of carries over into the next year and, like just a stud defenseman. And again, like you said, just doesn't get talked about enough because of the team he's on. But the way he's playing, I think a lot of people are going to start kind of looking at Columbus to see what Werenski does every night.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple of breakout-ish years before, but I think this is his biggest breakout one that goes from making him go from an all-star to a superstar kind of player and a guy that people are now noticing. Like before, people really didn't notice him. Now people are talking about him. I think a lot of people have him as, if you were only to look at this season, probably the third best defenseman in the league. Like obviously 1 and 2 spots, those are locked up fine. It almost feels like it's 3, and then there's people battling below him. Like it feels like he's in between those two elite levels. He's been that good this year, and he's not even halfway through the season, and he's already 18 points away from his career high in points. So I think he's gonna shatter that as well. And honestly, I would not hate him getting the C in the next few years at some point in
And I
Columbus.
think he should, and I think he will at some point. Yeah.
But
31. Your favorite little buddy coming out of Boston, Charlie McAvoy.
he's he's been so consistently good. Like it's so annoying, but he is really good. Um, I know you can talk a little bit more on it, but I know you are a massive fan of his physical and defensive game, as
Yeah,
well
which
as
is
him
when you're
chipping
talking
onto the
about
score sheet.
McAvoy. That's kind of what is when you're talking about that's kind of what his game is. Like obviously, the point totals they're pretty consistent, kind of around hovering around that kind of 50 point mark. Around 7 to 10 goals. Um, but just the shot blocking, the physicality he brings each and every night is just so nice to have in a defenseman, especially a young defenseman too, that can log big minutes.
He's a very Boston Bruins defenseman, isn't he?
He is.
He's
For a guy that back in 2012 or something said he hated the Boston Bruins, he's become a fan favorite. They're really fast, and it's just been a huge part of the team's success, really.
a guy who so many players like even guys like borderline generational talents will still have those first few years where they really have to get into the league. Like Kucherov played fucking 4 seasons before he really started putting up like great numbers.
Mhm.
McAvoy's first season, he didn't even do the shortened season where he played like 4 games for a test run. He went from 0 games played the next year, 63 games played, and okay, 32 points. On the blue line, half a point per game is good. I was looking at Pims, not gonna lie. I thought he put up 53 in his first year. But
Not only that though,
still,
like in the 63 games rookie year, 133 hits, 80 blocks.
a plus 20 as a rookie is pretty solid.
He's been a and you know what? If you don't like the stat plus minus, that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of it, but in this sense, it's a good telling stat. From his rookie year up to this year, plus 20, plus 14, plus 24, plus 22, plus 31, plus 29, plus 4 last year. But this year plus 10 on a Bruins team that at one point they set the record for like most goals against in a certain span or something. Like they were fucking bad. And the fact he's still a plus 10 is
I mean, they're minus 14 on the season right now, so
yeah.
there's a 24-point difference between the team's average and his. So I mean, that right there shows how much he helps his team when he's out on the ice. Like plus
Yeah.
minus in a vacuum isn't good, especially in a single game. A single game plus minus really does not often tell the story. But when you're looking at it over several seasons, if
No,
you've
that's
seen
just an
any
entire
patterns, it
career
really
so
helps.
far. Like kid's 20 I call him kid, but he's 27 and he's never been a minus so far in the league.
Yeah.
It's it's impressive stuff and again, he's not an offensive defenseman. He's more of a two-way guy, but more so defensively, I would honestly say.
He's a
Again, good for
stay-at-home
50
two-way
points,
defender.
but you're going to get shut down minutes from him, and he can easily log big minutes for you in any game. So love it.
Love it. Geez, we're almost an hour in. We're either gonna have to pick it up or we might have to split this into a two-parter. In all
This
honesty,
will just be a fun, long end of the year episode. People are going
big
to
old
love
one,
this
big old one to
because they're
end the
always
year.
wondering who's next. And you might be wondering, oh, who's at 30? Well, I'll tell you, Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes.
Best looking dude in the league right now. Well, actually, I don't know about that. Yeah, you can make the argument.
He's up
You can
there.
make the argument. Give us the rundown on Jack Hughes.
Um, Basically, the only thing holding him back is health so far in his career. If he had played 82 games in his last several seasons, I imagine we'd have him much higher than 30th.
Yeah.
In his
Oh yeah.
last couple seasons, 46 points this year in 39 games. He's looking great. The year before that, 74 in 62. So if he played all 82, he'd probably be around 100. The year before that, 99 points, 43 goals in 78 games, 56 in 49. Like great point per game numbers. My only gripe is the games played 56, 49, 78's good, 62, 39 this year I'm pretty sure is all of them if I had to guess for the Devils or most. Uh so he just needs to get a little bit more health going for him cuz
Yeah.
you know, it's good and all winning when you're in the lineup, but if you're not always in the lineup, it gets a little weird. So,
Yeah. Great young player. He's going to continue to climb this list.
oh yeah.
Don't think he'll ever be the highest Hughes on any of our lists. Maybe when he's like 37 and Quinn retires, but
Ah,
it's still just
see him
a
pass. I could see him
terrific.
passing Quinn Hughes. I don't think it would happen too soon, but Jack Hughes is legitimately a guy I could see in 3 or 4 years winning a Hart Trophy. I really could.
Quinn Hughes could win a Hart if he was a forward. They don't give that award to defensemen,
Yeah.
which they
Honest,
should. I would love to see that at some point.
honestly, yeah, he's like I said it a couple episodes ago, but I have him as my Hart Trophy favorite so far in Quinn Hughes. So I believe both could definitely do it, but obviously they're much more likely to give it to a forward, and Jack Hughes just is that good. We just haven't
Yeah,
gotten to
he
see
is
it
a
as
he is
much
a
as we'd
he's a
like to.
franchise center.
Yeah,
Just needs to stay healthy, really.
yeah. And
Uh,
that's a bit of a difference here. I feel like around this point is where we're seeing a decent amount of guys go from we were talking about elite guys that now we're starting to talk about a couple more franchise guys. Um, maybe not at that like generational marker yet, but a lot of these guys are ones that are not just an elite complementary piece, but they actually like are an anchor, a cornerstone for the franchise.
yeah, yeah. If they're not, if their team wins the cup and they're not lifting it because they got the C, they're probably the guy getting it second.
Yeah.
Um, 29, Anze Kopitar.
And I mean,
It
speaking
feels
of,
weird. It feels weird having him this low, but again, you look at the list and it's yeah. This is where he goes.
yep,
Easily a Hall of Famer, like
yep,
easily a Hall of Famer.
yep.
Already in his own right, and at his age, still like he's still just an absolute force for the LA Kings.
I mean, he's on pace for a career year.
Is he?
Like, yeah. I mean, so his career high in points is only 81 points. Because,
92,
92. Am I missing that somewhere? There it is. You are so right.
17, 18.
Yeah,
Could
so
easily beat that though still this year for sure.
okay. So he's not well, he's probably on pace to finish pretty close around that, maybe 90 or 91, but 39 points in 36 games. He's over a point per game. So he could end up anywhere from, 82 to 90. I mean, which is wild. He's 37 years old. He still plays an absolutely elite two-way game. Zero penalty minutes. He hasn't taken a penalty yet this year.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I don't love counting penalty minutes as a stat all the time, but like when it's 0 in 36 games, that's pretty
When
damn
you're
impressive.
averaging what is it, about 19 and a half minutes per night across 36 games, you haven't taken one penalty. That's impressive.
He plays all those penalty kill minutes, those tough defensive matchups. You think maybe a guy, a Jack Hughes, a Braden Point, a McDavid blows by him and he has to get his hands up for a hook. Nope, hasn't happened to him.
Yeah.
So that his two-way game is seriously impressive, and I got to imagine he's got some Selkies. There it is. He's got 2 Selkies in his career. He'd have more if he didn't play in the Bergeron era.
Yeah.
But you know what? 1,250 points in his career as it stands right now. So congrats to him for that. And dude's still playing with the best of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely deserving to be on this list. Number 28, we go over to the Dallas Stars once again. We got Miro Heiskanen.
I think this one might upset people a little bit. I think people are really high on Miro Heiskanen, and rightfully so. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think they'll disagree with who we have at 27. I think people will say that Heiskanen is better. I give the edge to the other guy. We'll talk about him in a second, but
Which I
uh,
believe this was one of the ones where I had Heiskin in 27.
I think so.
But again, this is one of the ones where I was like, you know what? You could go either way with one of these, and you know what? I'm fine with it. Really, like these guys are right with each other, and I think that's a compliment to both of them. Really. So
Yeah. I think we had three. I think we each had three times. So like we had six times throughout the list where we kind of had guys tied, and neither of us really wanted to move on who we put, at one spot and who we put on the lower spot. And I think we kind of split them up 3 and 3, and it was like, okay, my guy's higher on these ones, your guy goes higher on these ones, and we stop arguing about it. So,
yeah,
but
I
yeah,
will say Heiskanen. Well, actually can't say the best, but I would say in terms of like skating ability, probably top 3 in the league. Like his skating is
overall or
generational
defenseman.
overall.
I don't know if I'd give him top three overall,
I
but
would
it's very high up there.
for
Like
defenseman. I would
yeah, I would put in there for defenseman, but
overall.
I
Yeah,
know,
I would still have him in the top 3. His
and it,
skating is just what sets him so clear. Like not only is he a great player, but his skating is what separates him from so many other players and helps him dominate the game.
yeah, yeah, that's totally fair. Like he's so good at walking the line and the way he moves on the blue line. It's so fun watching some of these younger guys how they think about the game. They're forwards who want more ice time. Kale
Yeah,
McCarr, as a kid, didn't want to play defense. I will not, if he says it, I will not believe it. He wants to be a forward, but he wanted more minutes, so he said, I'll play defense. like,
yeah,
and the way they walk the line, and you never used to see guys come out of the past the blue line, but keep the puck in. But these young guys are like, oh, yeah, the puck can stay in. I can go out here. And it gives them like an extra foot and a half of room, and they'll walk the blue line like that. You never saw those older guys back up beyond the blue line. Like, even if they're
yeah.
holding the puck a couple of feet in, they would keep their body inside the line as well, which is just something I was noticing earlier, especially watching the World Juniors. But Miro Heiskanen is one of the best at them in the league, and this
Yeah.
year his point totals are I don't even know if they're really down too much from last year. 17 points in 35 games, 54 in 71 the year before, 73 in 79 before that was a really good year for him. But he's so good at controlling the game defensively and setting up
He's just a
plays.
great two-way defenseman. Like he goes out there and does all. He's not like the level of defensive play like a Charlie McAvoy's at, but his offensive abilities are much higher. And I think his transitional game is phenomenal. His ability to go from like offense to defense, or breaking up a play and immediately shifting it and going on offense mode is just it's one of those things that like you really can't teach. It's either like a defenseman kind of has that instinct or they don't. And he's one of those guys that does. And uh,
I think one of the things that really brings him up is his playoff performances as well.
yeah, I was just about to say his playoff numbers. Yeah, if you want to dive into
There
those.
there are 2 years that if that the Stars got relatively far in the playoffs, and I think there's two separate times where if they won the cup, he would have had the Conn Smythe. The first one in 2019 to 2020, the COVID bubble year, he had 26 points in 27 games. He was unreal those playoffs.
Yeah.
And then the other one is 20 just last year actually. He had 16 points in 19 games, six of them goals as a defenseman.
Averaging 28 minutes per game as well
Like that's
throughout the playoffs.
crazy. Like I think he probably wins the Conn Smythe either of those years
I would
if
agree.
they won the cup. So yeah, like
Uh,
definitely
yeah,
that first one. I don't know about last year. I don't remember if there was anyone else putting up crazy numbers, but he was definitely one of their core contributors at the
yeah,
least, and a very consistent playoff performer. 61 points in 85 career playoff games already. So
yeah.
he's got a lot left in the tank for the playoffs as well.
Number 27. Your boy here from the Buffalo Sabres, Rasmus Dahlin, which I
Yeah,
think is total like personally I would maybe have Heiskin higher, but Dahlin I'm totally okay with having the edge here and going at 27 as he's a just he's a franchise defenseman. He's absolutely fantastic for Buffalo and kind of seems to like only be getting better still.
yeah.
He
I
hasn't
mean,
peaked yet.
yeah. I mean, Buffalo went on that massive losing streak, and then he came back and put up. I think it was 3 or 4 points in their big win over the Islanders. They finally broke that losing streak at I think 13. Like he
They're
was
on a
a
3-game win streak now, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. Look at
So
that. Like he's a massive part of that team. The biggest part of that team really, and he's just been so good over several years. He's uh, rather similar to Charlie McAvoy, who we were talking about before. How he's pretty physical. He's good defensively, a bit more offensive minded than McAvoy, but he is responsible in his own end while still playing a heavy game and can definitely put up points with some of the best of them. 26 and 27 so far this year. 59 and 81 the year before, 73 and 78 before that. So consistently putting up very good numbers. 20 goals last year as well. Did not notice that.
I didn't even know about that. So that makes even more impressive what he's been doing. So I'm
Yeah,
fine with him on the list here, more than deserving, and he kind of is the Buffalo Sabres really, and he continues
yeah,
to prove that.
yeah. And unfortunately, it's hard to have him really any higher than this. Not only because he's young, but we have no idea how he performs in the playoffs.
Yeah, that is very true.
And it would be a shame for that to continue too much longer. So doesn't quite look like it's going to be this year, but Buffalo, come on, at some point.
Get it going. Get it
Good
going.
God, man. Um, but moving beyond Rasmus Dahlin, number 26, we have JT Miller.
Great player.
This
Great two-way guy. Great locker room guy, huh? Great locker room guy.
great locker room
Um
guy. He is
I mean,
so
he's
weird
just
to
what you
me.
want out of a guy like him is you can get 100 points out of him and he can play a great two-way game and get a little gritty and physical and not a power forward type guy, but he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. And
Yeah,
again, a guy that's getting Selkie votes but also like we know can drop 100 points. Like it's crazy that he's at 26, but it's kind of where he fits.
yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense. And just thinking about it's been years since it happened, but it still breaks my brain to think about. JT Miller was not close to, and I don't say this lightly, he wasn't close to being the worst defensive player in the league. He was the worst defensive player in the league. Like by a margin. And that's when we had Pat Maroon out there playing top like middle 6 minutes. We had Chara's corpse hauling himself around. Ryan Reeves was probably doing something somewhere. Miller was actively bad. Like it looked like he was sabotaging his team at times. And then like a light switch. I don't know what happened. I don't know if his coach said something, but he went from so bad to literally getting Selkie votes. I don't know how you can go from that to what he is now. It's
Mhm.
insane. The turnaround is insane. He didn't go from indifferent to defense. He went from horrendous to fantastic. And I've never seen a specific skill have on any player have that kind of turnaround. You know,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden now this guy who was all offense and a black hole defensively now he's putting up 99 points in a season, 82, 103 last year, and he's a great penalty killer, great two-way forward. Like they hopefully the
Yeah.
rumors between him and Pedersen having issues aren't true because they are both so good and you do not want to lose one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to have both of them on their game and on the same page. And when it's rolling for Vancouver and those guys are on, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Especially at 8 mil per year
Yeah.
until 2023 or 2030 for JT Miller. You're not winning a trade moving him. So
Yeah. Absolutely not.
hopefully they can figure it out, or if it's not true, the media can stop talking about it, and he can get back to doing what he does, because 23 points in 25 games this year is not world beating, but he also left for personal reasons. So
Yeah.
it's been a weird start to the year for a lot of people.
Yeah. We are at 25, so we are now at the halfway mark of the list. I think for some of these, we're able to go through a bit quicker because some of them, it makes sense. Like, we don't have to try and justify maybe why this guy's ahead of this guy, because some of them, these guys are pretty close. But it's hard to be like, oh, you switch them, because it makes sense to us.
Especially the next five. The next five guys
Yeah.
here, we swapped around at least twice. I know we
Yeah.
moved names around, so
Yeah.
they're all pretty damn close. But coming in at number 25, we have none other than Jack Eichel of the Vegas Golden Knights. Dude has been. We knew he was going to be a star since he got drafted. Just great numbers. He really good numbers this year. 48 points in 36 games. He's got to be probably at least close to top 5 in scoring on the season with numbers like that.
Got to be somewhere in there. But like, ever since the trade to Vegas, I mean, 25 points in 34 games, 66 points, 67 games, 68 points last year and 63. This year, 48 and 36. And in Vegas's 2 playoff runs with Jack Eichel, winning the Stanley Cup, 26 points in 22 games. And then last year, going on the first round, 7 and 7. So he's over a point per game guy in the playoffs. I believe now, due to his play this season, he's over a point per game guy with Vegas. And he was a stud with Buffalo before, like
on a team where he was the only stud. So
exactly, yeah.
So yeah, he's finally getting to be the guy somewhere where he's surrounded by the talent, and you love to see it. It sucks how it ended with Buffalo. I don't know for sure, but I got to imagine he was probably the runner-up, if not top 3 in Conn Smythe voting as well for the Vegas Golden Knights in 22, 23, 26 in 22 in the playoffs. I got to imagine he was at least top 3 for Conn Smythe voting, but
yeah,
makes sense to have him at 25 here. These guys
absolutely.
I'm probably just going to keep saying it for the end of until the end of the episode, but everyone we got ahead of here is just so damn good, man.
Yeah.
We really have like the most talent in the league we've ever had, I think.
I think so. I think that's fair to say. 24 from the Florida Panthers, we have Sam Reinhart.
He was hard
going
to
back,
place.
obviously, kind of a a solid player, a good first line guy, kind of with Buffalo. But since coming to Florida, 82 points, 78 games, 67 and 82. Last year, 94 points and 82, 57 of them being goals. This year, no slowing down, 45 points in 37 games, 22 goals. And in the playoffs last year, 16 points in 24 games, 10 of those being goals, including the Stanley Cup game-winning goal. So this is one of those ones where, kind of like Eichel maybe has the more impressive, last couple of seasons, but Reinhardt's, year last year with the 56 goals and the way he's doing it this year right now, because this is like kind of top players going into 2025, I got to give Reinhardt the bump there because that, what he's been doing is super
goals.
Impressive.
Like, that's
not only
crazy.
that, kind of having to carry the bulk of it too. There's another guy that people may notice isn't on this list that put up an insane amount of goals last year, but realistically wouldn't be doing it, on the Florida Panthers in Sam Reinhardt's role.
Yeah. And
so
for those who don't figure it out, that's Zach Hyman.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, Zach Hyman's not on here. He didn't even make Team Canada, did he? So
no.
There you go. Sam Reinhart also on this season currently tied for 5th in goal scoring so far. So, out there showing that last year 57 goals, not a fluke. He's just that damn good.
Yeah, he's a terrific player, and he's really kind of come into his own with Florida. Earned that nice big contract extension that he got. And you know what? He's a
Wish it
solid
was
guy in his
bigger.
own end. Like he doesn't, zone out in his own end. He's still, very aware of what's going on. Still, like, not up there in terms like an elite two-way guy, but in his own end, still a very solid player. And it is proven last year wasn't a fluke, which is a big reason why he's as high as he is on this list.
Yeah, and not quite an elite two-way guy yet, but 4 short-handed goals on the season already leads the league in that. So that's pretty nasty as well.
Moving on to 23, we're going off to the Toronto Maple Leafs. We got none other than William Nylander.
Yeah.
Give us the rundown on Willie here.
Nylander he's a guy that always kind of felt fringe elite for a couple of years there. For a long time he was around he had 2 seasons at 61 points, 59. Like he was really good, but he was not quite that upper echelon. And then the last few years he's really broken out and done so very healthily as well. His last 3 seasons and then this year, 80 points in 81 games, 87 in 82, 98 last year in 82, and then this year 41 and 37. Very healthy, very consistent, 2 40-goal seasons in there, over a point per game. Like, dude is just turned it up to a whole new level, and he has been so good, at times having to drive the offense, which is an insane thing to say on a guy who's on a team with Tavares, Matthews, Marner, but there are times where he's the one who quarterbacks it and makes it happen. So he 100% deserves to be up here. And 3 points in 4 playoff games last year, all 3 of them goals. 10 points in 11 games the year before that, 7 and 7, 8 and 7. Like, he's, for a lot of the shit that Toronto gets for not being a playoff performing team, yeah, they do lose, but like a lot of their guys do produce.
Yeah, like the team as a whole kind of gets laughed at for losing, but then it kind of bleeds through and gets labeled onto the players, and that's not fair because they got lots of guys that do perform in the playoffs and are great, but it's an overall team thing. It's just a Toronto thing. We shouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah, it's like when bad stuff happens to Buffalo. It's hard to blame the players. They're walked into a cursed situation.
Yeah. Moving forward and onward to number 22, we go back to the Florida Panthers yet again, and we have Matthew Tkachuk. 21-22 season with the Calgary Flames, had 104 points, 42 goals, 82 games. First year with the Florida Panthers, 109 points, 40 goals that year in 79 games. Last year, 88 points in 80 games, and then this year, 35 in 32. And it's his playoff numbers that really is a selling point for him. 24 points in 20 games. That is the year they lost in the Stanley Cup final to the Vegas Golden Knights. Tkachuk really kind of put the team on his back and scored a lot of big goals that year, putting up 11 goals in the playoffs there. And then last year,
with a broken
winning
sternum.
As well. Yeah, not to mention that. Yeah,
you know that whole middle part of your body. Yeah, that was broken. Like, good God,
to the point where he couldn't even get out of bed, and he was still going out there and doing everything. And
then
last year,
that's why we saw his point production dip a little bit, comparative to his standard he had set that year, because that's a huge injury to play several hockey games through.
Yeah. And then last year, winning the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers, 22 points in 24 games. One of the best playoff performers currently in the league. Just goes out there and gets it done.
Yeah, obviously,
really,
he was also the guy we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Brady Tkachuk. He's kind of the one guy who has a claim to be the best power forward in the league over Brady Tkachuk, but we were kind of saying Matthew Tkachuk doesn't really drop the gloves near as much. And if he does, it's because he knows it's a guy he can really fight with. Like the only
Yeah.
time I can remember him in recent memory fighting somebody is when Pasternak went out and challenged him to a fight. And obviously he'll fight Pasternak, but like even then Pasternak had to ask him for it. So
Yeah. And I've never seen. I mean, I wasn't a Matthew Chuck fan before, but coming to Florida, he's really sold me on him. Like, just such a fun player to watch, and the way he can in the playoffs alone was just incredible. But man, Brady Kachuk never turtled.
but you know
So
what? There's a reason we have Matthew Tkachuk up here at 22,
yeah,
right? Like
exactly. Yeah. So
he just scores points at a quite a bit higher pace. 200-point seasons, 240-goal seasons. So
and just playoff success galore, right? Like
yeah,
that's a huge part of it.
yeah. Moving on from Matthew Tkachuk, we go up to number 21, back to Toronto. We have Mitch Marner.
We had a little bit of a debate about where Marner, Nylander. I think we actually had Marner, Nylander, then Kachuk. We were like, gotta throw something in the middle there. The two Toronto boys.
Yeah. I think we originally had Nylander ahead of Marner as well, but I just kept looking at Marner's numbers and I kept being like, I don't think we can. Like,
I think we did. I think we did it first, but then we looked and we're like, man, based off this year, like was kind of the difference maker in the fact that the season Marner's having contract year, by the way. Doing it without Matthews and kind of having to really pick up a lot of the slack, like he's just been terrific.
yeah, like
Really
he's
like.
and I mean like sure, you can throw it in his face. He hasn't had a 100-point season. 94 points in 82 games, 67 in 59, 67 in 55, 97 in 72, 99 in 80, 85 in 69. If he can play a full season and not fall off at all, like he's already on pace for it this year to hit 100 points. And he does this all while being one of the best defensive wingers in the entire National Hockey League. So like he is truly one of the premier playmakers in the league.
Yeah.
And people will point to playoff numbers bad for him. 50 points in 57 playoff games in his career.
Yeah, like
he is not bad in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He had a couple bad plays, 6 years ago at this point where he took some bad delay of game penalties against Montreal, but that was quite a bit ago, and he's gonna get paid. I don't know by who, but he's
gonna get paid. Yeah. Moving on to number 20, back to the Florida Panthers yet again. We have Alex Barkov, the best defensive forward in the league now, without Bergeron. Let me just find his stats here.
He's got really good regular season stats for going back quite a bit as well. But his playoff numbers are also very good. 20 when they win the cup there last year, 22 points in 24 games, 16 points in 21 games the year before that. 7 and 10, 7 and 6, 4 and 4. Like he's always around a point per game while taking on those toughest matchups. He's out there. He's trying to defend against McDavid in the finals. He's playing against the best of them, and it works. So
if Florida, shuts out Edmonton, well, not like shut them out, but if they beat Edmonton in Game 4 and win the cup, Barkov's got a very good chance of having a Conn Smythe too to his name.
I think it probably
might have probably still gone to Bobrovsky, but
I think it would have at that point.
Very well could have gone to Barkov
lost
still.
It. He kind of lost it after they got shelled in that Game 4, and then didn't play great throughout the remaining. But
Barkov
second place Conn Smythe
still could have been in it. Yeah, there still could have been a world where he got it. But last 4 seasons, or last 3, and then including this one, 88 points, 67 games, 78 points in 68, 80 and 73, and this year 33 and 27. And he does all this while being, again, the best defensive forward in the league. He's great in both ends. He does it all.
2 Selke trophies in the past 4 years.
The only reason he's probably not higher is just because his offensive numbers aren't,
Yeah,
super up there, but he makes up for it the two game. But again, we do still have quite a few defensemen and some goalies in the mix. So he is 20th on the list, but I think when you break it down, he's like 11th for forwards, 12th or something. So
yeah, we got a couple other defensemen, and what? Yeah, you haven't heard of goalies in quite a bit, but we're getting to them at some point
we're
here.
getting to him. Yeah, the
There's
top
that
three
much of a
are
gap.
really
There's that
yeah,
much of a
quite a bit
gap
above the
between
rest.
the top three, the other two, and then honestly between the bottom two we had down in the 40s. The gap between them and whoever you'd put at six is decent as well. Goaltending's
Yeah.
weird right now. Um,
Moving on to
but
19 though, do you want to tell us about this big lug back on the blue
this
line?
absolute beauty at number 19, we have Victor Hedman. Uh, Hedman has been just absolutely unreal for so long at this point. Um, a lot of people think that he kind of fallen off because they still remember that season 2 years ago where he had, you know, still 49 points in 76 games. Like, that's still pretty decent, but he lost a lot of opportunity, like I said earlier, to Mikhail Sergachev, who just popped off that year and was undeniable. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, 85 points in 82 games, 20 goals that year, 76 in 78 last year, and then this year he is at 28 points in 32 games. Uh, he is so good and still very good defensively as well. I was watching something the other day. I think it was just like some guy on YouTube was going over like the most recent NHL like EA NHL game update. And he was talking about all the players, and he passed Hedman and said at this point he should probably be an offensive defenseman instead of a two-way defenseman. And I was like, hey, this guy totally hasn't watched a Lightning game in a bit. Like he's
Yeah, I would
his
not.
defensive game is not what it was 3 years ago, but he is definitely still at an elite level for defensive play.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Yeah, he's still one of the best, despite obviously age catching up to him a little bit, but really
yeah,
hasn't slowed him down that much. He's still having a terrific year this year. He's still just a force on the blue line, and hell,
one of
he's got
the
a
one of
Conn
the better.
Smythe to his name, so
Yeah,
there's not
one
many
of the
defensemen in
better.
the league that can say that.
Yeah, one of the better power play quarterbacks in the league. Uh, yeah, that Conn Smythe run was unreal. That one's about 5 years ago now at this point, but still very good playoff numbers, even up to 2022 where he had 19 points in 23 games. Uh, yeah, just awesome defenseman back there, and we're not even done talking about incredible defensemen here, are we? Because at number
We are not. No.
18 here, do you wanna talk about him? Are you ready for him?
Yeah, I'm ready for a little bit of 30th place Nashville Predators rub here. At number
Brutal.
18, we have none other than Roman Yossi. Uh, I mean, when you talk about a guy that is just a workhorse and just kind of elevates the entire team from the back end, Roman Yossi is one of those guys. Going back to like honestly, really 1920, like 65 points, 69 games. COVID bubble year, weird year, 33 points, 48 games, 96 points in 80 games. Robbed of a Norris Trophy that year, I will say, because he didn't win that year, did he? I don't believe he did. I believe he got robbed
I
that
don't
year.
I don't
And I
think
remember
so.
saying it was wild. Um, 22,
Uh
23,
no,
fifty-nine
he
point
didn't.
67. Okay, I was pretty sure
Cuz
he
he
did.
cuz he won the Norris in 1920 and that's it. So
1920.
he wasn't
Yeah.
a big popular name and they didn't want to already give him two Norris trophies, but he was really good that year.
Yeah. Last year, 85 points in 82 games, 23 of them being goals. This year, 24 points in 32 games, 7 goals. You know what? Pretty dang good considering how bad Nashville's offense has been. And a guy that just is a shot blocking machine. 144 blocks, 108, 83, 133, 146, 151, and 55 blocks in 32 games so far this year. So well on his way to over another 100 blocks this season. He's just a
Like
franchise defenseman. He just goes out there and can be great in his own end and can put up insane points and run a power play as good as really any defenseman on this list. So
The Predators really were heading towards a rebuild, and Roman Yossi said you can't.
yeah, pretty much.
For the last 5 years now, at any point they could have just said, fuck it, pull the trigger, let's rebuild. And he just kept getting better and better somehow, saying, no, you can't. Not while I'm around.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. So, yeah, absolutely deserving of 18th on this list.
Moving on to number 17, the first of back-to-back goalies on the list. Braden, would you like to cover number 17 here for us?
I would, because I want to talk about number 17, Andrei Vasilevsky. Just over the last several years has been consistently in the talks for the best goalie in the league. His play has dropped off in the past maybe year and a half, I guess really just year, because he did have a disc surgery on his back last year, which brought his numbers down. He had a 900 last season, and he still played 52 games, which is wild because he didn't play until it was either late November or early December. So they really rode him hard in the back half of that season. But other than that, he's still rocking it this year, a 914 save percentage, a 915 the year before in 2022-23, 916, 925. He's got great numbers going back. It's really just that 1 year, which wasn't his fault. He had a surgery. That's fine. But yeah, just his playoff numbers also are just absolutely immaculate. Really one of those guys that elevates in the playoffs. Conn Smythe in 2020, 2021. There's not a whole lot you can say. It's his numbers. He used to have a lot more 920 seasons, and now he's having a lot more 916 seasons. And that, while that is still elite, we're talking about we're at 17th best in the league. If you wanna get to 16 or higher, you got to consistently be able to put up earth-shattering numbers, because that's how damn good the league is.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the best goalies in the league. He's you go back 3 years ago, he's number one. Just a terrific goalie, and is one of those goalies that's not really the team in front of him. It's just him. You put him on any team, he's going to put up insane numbers. He's just a terrific talent, and easily a first ballot Hall of Famer for goalies. So
yeah. Do you want to talk about the next one then?
Yeah, we can go over to the dog shit New York Rangers, bottom of the Metro Division, currently 26th in the league, I might add. Way to go, Rangers. We have Igor Shesterkin, the new Mr. Moneybags, highest paid goalie. I mean, this guy has been an absolute stud. He's been the anchor for the Rangers ever since coming over to the team, forcing Henrik Lundqvist basically out of New York after a Hall of Fame career there in his own right. I mean, this is one of those goalies where he's good in the regular season, but his play just elevates in the playoffs. Save percentage over the last couple of years, 935, 916, 921, and still a 908 this season, despite the Rangers not being a very good team. But again, it's really the playoffs where his numbers are insane. The 21-22 and 20 games played, he had a 929, 259 goals against. 22-23, 7 games played in the playoffs, 931 save percentage, and a 1.96 goals against. Crazy how they lose that in the first round. And then last year in the playoffs, 16 games played, he had a 926 save percentage and a 2.34 goals against. He's a great goalie in the regular season. Not last couple of numbers are kind of slipped a bit, but still great in their own right. But really, the playoffs, he's just a machine, and he's a big part of why the Rangers have had playoff success the way they have had the last couple of years.
Yeah, and earned every cent of the massive contract extension that he signed this year as well. What did you say his save percentage was last year?
Regular season?
Yes.
912.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard you say 920 something, and I'm on HockeyDB. I'm not sure what your site on or what site you're on, but I have a 913. So I was just like, oh, that's like a large discrepancy in numbers. So, but
Basically,
913, 912.
we'll give him 913. Why not? Rangers need a little
Why
bit of
not?
extra love, but again, he's one of the best goalies in the league, and yeah, well deserving of his contract. And again, he is the reason. He is what makes the Rangers a much better team than where they probably should have been the last couple years. And he's a big part of why they're probably not, honestly, 32nd in the league right now.
Oh, he is 100% of like. I'll give him 80% of the reason they're not. The other 20 being Artemi Panarin this year.
Not on the list. No, I'm just kidding.
That they're not.
He's on the list. He's on the list.
But like he is a massive reason they're not literally dead last in the league because right now the Rangers, they are 1 point ahead of the Sabres. Remember the Sabres who just went on a 13-game losing streak?
Oh, I remember it.
Like without Shesterkin, they would. I don't even doubt that they would be below Chicago. They would be below Nashville.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe Jonathan Quick would ball out. Actually, who knows? He's been really good when he's been in.
That is true.
Either way, moving on from 16, we'll head.
I'll
to
take
15.
I'll take 15. I'll take 15. You can take 14. Number 15, we have none other than the Golden Boy. One of the best to ever do it, top 5 all time. Recently, this helps push my agenda. He hit 1,000 assists, or no, what was it? No, it's not 1,000. He hit.
He passed. He passed
Mario Lemieux. Not once, but twice for most assists all time. At 1,034, that is Sidney Crosby. He recorded that assist to break Mario Lemieux's record against the New York Islanders, the team that I've been saying always gives people their first. But after the game, the assist was taken away from Crosby for whatever reason. But not to worry, because the following night, the very next day on back-to-back, they played the New York Islanders again in Pittsburgh, and that is when Crosby officially recorded. Yeah, so he did it twice against the Islanders, technically, passing Lemieux. And I think he's not far off from recording the most assists all time for a singular team, which he will pass Wayne Gretzky doing that. So Crosby continuing to just break records, set records. One of the best to ever do it. Last few seasons, 84 points in 69 games, 31 goals. 93 points, 82 games, 33 goals. Last year, 94 points in 82 games, 42 goals. And this year, on a Pittsburgh team that's kind of regressed and struggling, still 40 points in 38 games, only 10 goals, but he does still have those 30 assists. Numerous Art Rosses, numerous Harts. He's got a Rocket in there. Couple Conn Smythes, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, and at the ripe old age of 37, sign another 8.7 deal, stick around with the Pens, wants to be a lifer there. Still a great player, I mean.
And
just a rock star.
He's just been so good. Like
just a rock star guy.
It's really crazy that at 37 he's still this high up. Like and it's not even because of regression at all. Like it's other guys are just like peaking all at the same time and pushing past him. He is really not shown hardly any signs of regressing, honestly. Like
no.
Like 93 and 94 points the last 2 years. Nah, he's still killing it.
He's still just playing at an elite level, and age is not cutting up to him whatsoever. So like you said, it's really just all of these other guys above him are kind of coming into their own, or just at this point now, just putting up better numbers. And Crosby's still one of the best out there, though.
Yeah, who knows? We might have Crosby a bit higher if the Penguins were able to make the playoffs last year. We get to see another year of playoff Crosby do his thing. Maybe that would have convinced us because he shows up in the playoffs.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Uh, but just above him at number 14, we have Braden Point. I know Point and Crosby for sure was one of the ones that we went back and forth on, and you let me have my way, and I appreciate that. To have Point at number 14, uh, one of the best goal scorers in the game today, one of the best skaters, especially for just pure speed in the game today. Like his last several seasons now, 58 points, 28 goals in 66 games, 95 points and 51 goals in 82, 90 points and 46 goals in 81. This year, he's got 43 points already and 23 goals, and that's in only 30 games. Uh, he's on pace and he's looking to break 50 goals again this year, and like he just seems so automatic. Like when I'm watching a Lightning game, I'm like, this guy's gonna find a way to score. And there's so many games I've watched where like he's all over it, and then after the game, I'm like, how did he not have a goal? That's insane. Like he looked nuts out there. So, uh, dude generates offense like crazy. Pretty decent defensive game as well. Not gonna win a Selkie, but he's responsible. And he
Yeah.
he scores goals, especially in the playoffs as well. Really good playoff numbers. So 33 points, 14 goals in 23 playoff games. The year after that, 23 points, 14 goals, 23. The year after that, he only got to play in 9 before he got injured. But yeah, just an unreal player, and he is one of the only guys in the league that feels not even skill wise, but also mentally equipped to play with a guy like Kucherov. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of funny watching how good Gensel was when he showed up in Tampa, but he really is trying to figure out how to play with Kucherov because Kucherov plays like be a pro player. He'll just make passes when it's batshit crazy to make them. One of the best
Yeah.
things about Braden Point is he's always ready to grab a puck. Like you're not looking at me and across the ice. I don't care. I'm ready for a pass because
Yeah.
he just had to learn how to do that. So
Yeah. He's always got to be on his toes and ready for him, and he's adapted to that very well.
yeah. Do we want to go back and forth from here on out? Do we want to just
Yeah.
keep tossing it around?
I'm good with that. Moving on, number 13. This is a guy that probably is going to climb this list over time as he just continues to
It's hard to
get
say
better,
that
it
at this
seems.
point, but like he's really good.
From the Minnesota Wild, we have Kirill Kaprizov. Um, Going back basically to his rookie year, that was the COVID bubble year. 51 points in 55 games, 108 points in 81 games, 75 and 67. Last year, 96 points in 75 games, 46 of those being goals. So if he played all 82, probably hits 100 points, maybe even 50 tucks there. And this year, 50 points in 34 games. So he should be well on his way to another 100-point season and maybe potentially hitting that 50 goal mark. He's just a terrific player, and he really is like just the driving force behind what is making the Minnesota Wild a must watch team, basically.
Yeah, the first time they've really had a talent of that caliber. They've had a Marian Gaborik and whatnot at different points, but it really feels like this is the first like franchise game breaking talent that they've had in Minnesota, and
Yeah.
Minnesota fans are enjoying every second of it. I love watching it. They are just feel so blessed to be watching Kaprizov play for them,
Yeah.
and you love to see it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like everything he's done this year alone has just been super impressive. And again, it's a guy that I think hasn't even hit his peak yet. And as Minnesota continues to become a better team, kind of like a Clayton Keller, as this team continues to get better and talent gets better on the team, when Kaprizov's making all these passes, there's going to be more guys just to finish on those passes. And his numbers are just going to continue to rise. So terrific player. And he's getting a lot of the respect that he deserves this year, especially.
Yeah, this year especially because he's been up there in Hart Trophy conversation for a bit. He's fallen back a little bit, but he's still up there, I'd say, in the conversation.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I mean, even if you're a peripheral guy in the conversation, it's still pretty telling.
Yeah, just to be in the conversation alone, 100%. Yeah.
Moving on to number 12. I believe this is the third we have as the third best defenseman on the list, but at number 12 overall, we have Adam Fox. Adam Fox has just been outstanding for the New York Rangers. We've talked previously a couple of times about Adam Fox. We don't love the way he forced himself to the Rangers. He, really played hardball with the Flames and then with the Hurricanes. But the talent on the ice is undeniable. The past 3 years, 74 points, 72, 73. This year he's got 27, 35. All from the blue line. Playoff numbers are great too. 23 points in 20 games, 8 and 7, 8 and 16 last year. All while playing pretty good defense. Like, what more could you ask? Great points, great defense, power play quarterback. Like, he pretty much does it all at an elite level.
Yeah. Regardless of whether or not you're a fan of how he got his way to the Rangers, there's no denying what a terrific talent he really is. He's just such a dynamic defenseman and just a great two-way guy. And he's got his Norris. He's had his high point seasons. A little bit of a down year, but again, we know how good Adam Fox is when he's on his game and everything's going.
And I mean, this year especially, we were saying, everyone on the Rangers is having a down year pretty much, except for Panarin. So makes sense that his numbers would dip a little bit.
Moving on forward, we're going back up north to Winnipeg. At number 11, we have Connor Hellebuyck. Previous couple seasons, 910 save percentage, a 920, a 921, and last year a 920 save percentage that's this season. My bad. He has a 928 this season with a 206 goals against average, 4 shutouts. Looking like he's well on his way to putting up back-to-back seasons winning a Vezina, which is very tough to do for a goalie to, especially in NHL today, to have back-to-back seasons of consistency and putting up good numbers across an entire regular season to win back-to-back Vezinas is incredible. If you want to say he's not the most proven playoff goalie, that's fine. I think last year was the entire Winnipeg team just kind of collapsed, really. Like, obviously Hellebuyck wasn't making saves where he maybe needed to, but there's also ones where he was kind of left out to dry, and no goalie had a chance in making some of those saves. So, but again, regular season numbers, he is an absolute beast. And again, if you're a goalie and you're in this day and age, you're getting back-to-back Vezinas, potentially. He hasn't yet, but if you got the opportunity to, that is incredible in its own right.
Yeah, and just for fun, since at least I would say right now he probably should win it. Like, if the season ended today, Hellebuyck should win the Vezina. Can you let me know, who do you think is the last goalie to win back-to-back Vezinas?
Oh man.
Since they started voting on it, it looks like it's only happened. It's happened a few times, but it's only happened for 3 guys.
I'm going to say Brodeur, because why not?
Yep. Brodeur in 07, 06, 07, and then 07, 08. The only 3 guys since this became not... Because before 1981, the Vezina was not voting. It was what the William N. Jennings is now, which is just the lowest, the best goals against average.
Yeah.
The only 3 guys who have ever won back-to-back Vezinas since they changed it: Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, Martin Brodeur.
Yeah.
The 3 guys that are basically locks on almost everybody's Mount Rushmore of goalies, and you only get 4. So there's not much more elite company you can get when it comes to goaltenders. Like most guys can't even like the amount of top tier first ballot Hall of Famer goalies that only have one Vezina is crazy. Like it's so hard to win two, which he's already done. To win three and have two of them back to back is ludicrous. So
Yeah.
I think people know he's good, but I don't think they understand how good he's been over the last
Yeah.
several years now.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a terrific goalie, and again, having a hell of a season. And I'm rooting for him. I would love to see him. I would love to see a goalie get back to back Vezinas. As like you mentioned, like that's is hard for goalies to do. So
It's
anytime a goalie's got an opportunity to make some history, why not, right? Because we love our goalies here, and
as long as
yeah,
Massey's still
cool to see.
playing, I'm gonna be not cheering too hard for anybody else, but I wouldn't be upset to see
Yeah,
him
fair
get
enough.
a
Fair enough. Yeah. Moving
But
on though.
moving
Number
on,
10, who we got?
no goalies in the top 10. It's too volatile of a sport right now to have any goalies in the top 10. It's just that difficult, right? But
Yeah.
at number 10, we have Artemi Panarin of the New York Rangers. Uh, he's been so good at just putting up points, and he's one of those guys that I feel like a lot of people say that he's overrated because he doesn't play a great defensive game. And I guess fair enough, he doesn't, but it feels like people downplay his offensive numbers a bit when, other guys put up numbers like this and they're gods to them. Like in his last
Yeah.
4 seasons, 96 points, 92 points, 120 points, 49 of them goals. This year he's at 38 in 33, and that's on a bad Rangers team. So he is just an offensive machine. The offense runs through him in New York. 120 points last year, that helps get the Rangers the President's Trophy. In the playoffs as well, 16 points in 20 games, 15 in 16 games. Like, dude's a stud. Like, was the trade 1-for-1 to move him from Chicago? Was it Sod for Panarin straight up, or was there other pieces?
I think it might have been straight up 1-for-1. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it was just 1-for-1.
Brutal, man. Even if it wasn't, they still obviously fleeced themselves in Chicago, but man, what a player, and absolutely deserves to be in the top 10 here at 33 years of age. Obviously he had his rookie year when he was like 26, so he's he's deceptively older than you'd think.
It wasn't a 1-for-1 trade, but all the other pieces that were kind of in it were kind of just kind of nothing pieces, really. Yeah, so
that's a rough one. That's one of the modern era blunders for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, like terrific player, and he's just had success ever since he's come into the league, really. So,
number 9, man. We got
9.
We got through a couple of them pretty quick here. I guess do you want to take 9? I know you're a big fan of them.
Yeah, number 9, going over to Colorado, we have Mikko Rantanen. Dude has been just an absolute weapon for the Avalanche, really ever since coming in, but more so recently in the last couple years. Had a couple point per game seasons, but really it was kind of the bubble year, the COVID bubble year, where all the divisions were whack, that he really kind of became like this at this point, like almost franchise level player. 66 points in 52 games, 30 of those being goals. 92 points in 75 games, 36 of those being goals. 2 seasons ago, 105 points in 82 games, 55 goals, his first 50-goal season. Last year, 104 points in 80 games, 42 goals. And this year, he has 53 points and 20 goals in 37 games.
Yeah, I think
this dude is just an absolute weapon out there. And yeah, he plays with good talent, but you know what? You got to be good to be putting up these numbers consistently still, though. And Rantanen has done just that. In a contract year, kind of like what we talked about with Marner, he's gonna get paid. And rightfully so. This guy is good for at least 35 goals every year, 90 plus points, and none of that has proven that he can drive a line on his own if need be, outside of McKinnon. So
Yeah, yeah, he's just unreal. I know you had him. You had him picked at the start of the year to get 60 goals. Um,
don't
I
think
don't.
that's going to happen,
I
but
don't know if he's on pace, but I mean, he's
no, no,
he's at
no, no,
least
he's
he's
not.
at least on pace for
He's on pace
40,
for at
45,
least,
almost
yeah,
50. So I mean, this guy ain't above putting up a hat trick on any given night. So I can see him
yeah.
getting up back up into that 55-ish range.
60 is out of the question, I think. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say I think 60
Probably not. I'm not
is
going to say it's out of the
out of
question.
range. But I think he could still hit 50. I think 50 is still doable for a guy of
Yeah,
his standard. And again, yeah, he's just a huge part of the success Colorado has been having.
absolutely. And not to be outdone, a guy who shoots a little bit more often than him. At number 8 for the Boston Bruins, we have David Pastrnak. Uh, dude is. I think it's safe to say he's been the second best goal scorer for a few years in the league now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
2 years ago, he even had 61 goals, which is wild. Last year, so I guess the last few years, 77 points in 72 games, 40 goals, 113 points, 61 goals, all 82 games played. 110 points, 47 goals, all 82 played. And this year, he's a little bit lower. He's at 37 and 13 in 38 games played, but the Bruins are definitely struggling, and he's having to carry a vast majority of that workload there. But still has one of the best shots in the league. I think pretty solidly for me, the second best shot in the league. Uh, like just an unreal goal scorer. Like I, I definitely think he's a franchise player. I wouldn't say he's generational, but I'd say he has a generational shot. I think his
I think
shot is
that's a fair way of putting it. Yeah, I like
just
that.
that insane. Um, yeah, like he absolutely deserves to be number 8 here. One thing, and this isn't this is very loosely based on him, I guess. It's more about Boston while we're talking about him, just because you mentioned it earlier. The franchise assist leader for any given team in the league is actually Gretzky's at second in Edmonton. Ray Bourque is actually the leader all time in assists with a single franchise in Boston
Oh,
um,
okay.
at 1,111, which is less than 100 more than Mario Lemieux in Pittsburgh, who is not the record holder anymore. So uh, just if anyone wants to keep up on that, Crosby is now the most in Pittsburgh, fourth most for a single team. Give him 2 more years, I think he'll pass. He'll
Oh
pass
yeah,
Ray Bourque.
I think so.
But yeah,
Uh,
not to detract from Pasternak there. Just wanted to throw that in when there was some sort of connection. Yeah, great
yeah,
goal scorer, great player. Showed last year that he's got insane playmaking chops too. He's just got such a good shot, and also never played with a phenomenal finisher either. So he really has to bury a lot of them on his own.
yeah,
Bergeron, incredible player, never broke 80 points. He's not an offensive juggernaut, so while it probably helped Pasternak be a better two-way guy and helped his plus minus and stuff, uh, wasn't wasn't helping him as much as some of the other guys in the top 10 might have elite line mates to play with. But no,
yeah,
he's having to do a lot of it on his own, especially this year.
yeah. Moving on. Number 7,
Yes.
going to Vancouver Canucks. We have Quinn Hughes. Last couple years, 68 points, 76 games, 76 points in 78 games. Last year, winning a Norris Trophy, he had 92 points in 82 games, 17 of those being goals, 75 assists. He was a plus 38. And this year, 42 points, 8 of those being goals in 34 games. He's a plus 14, carrying the Vancouver Canucks. And unfortunately, due to his injury, he is week to week. He was currently on pace
Oh,
for 101 points.
damn! I
Don't
didn't
know
know
if he
it.
would have reached it. but he was on pace for a 100-point season. And let me tell you, if he hit that 100-point pace, I think we're talking about a new best defenseman in the league. But unfortunately,
Yeah,
isn't going to happen as it sounds like he will be out for at least a couple of weeks and then will be reevaluated. But
brutal. I didn't know that he was week to week. I thought he like missed one game.
they announced yesterday he's going to be week to week and isn't join the Canucks on the upcoming road trip. Which is tough news for the Canucks, as again he is a big part of why they're having, I wouldn't say a lot of success season, but a lot more than they would have been if he wasn't on the team. And last year was, I mean, really kind of the big year of like, all right, he's like for sure the number 2 behind Makar. Like he set himself up above an Adam Fox, above a Roman Josi, Victor, and those type of guys. Just he was just an absolute beast, and his not only his offense numbers took that next step. Obviously, going from 76 career high to 92 goals career high, going from 8 to 17, and then even plus minus going from a plus 15 all the way up to a plus 38. He was just an absolute beast for the Canucks. In the playoffs, 13 games played. He had no goals, but 10 assists in his career across the playoffs, 30 games played, 26 points.
And
He's just a terrific defenseman, really.
and
Like it's incredible watching him play.
he's really underrated defensively now as well. There was that whole narrative the first season in his rookie year. Who's going to win the Calder? It's one of the 2 defensemen. Is it Makar or is it Quinn Hughes? And the whole narrative was Quinn Hughes is not as good on defense as Cale Makar. And I think that was true in their rookie year, for sure. But at this point, Quinn Hughes is absolutely no slouch defensively. He's really actually very good defensively. And at this point, I would also say defensively better than Cale Makar. Maybe not as physical, but yeah, he's there's a reason we have him as the second best defenseman in the league, and very much knocking on the door of number 1.
Yeah, he's making a good case for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Number 1, that being our number 6 on the list, Cale Makar. We have them one spot right beside each other, like they're right there, 6 and 7, because we think it's that close at this point, And that's not because Makar's fallen off, none of that. It's because Quinn Hughes is that damn good. But Cale Makar is, in our opinion, still the defenseman in the National Hockey League. He's just been electric. Like, this guy can't go 5 games without breaking some sort of franchise record, defenseman record, defenseman points at this age record. Like, dude's only 26, man. Are you kidding? He's got 381 career points as a defenseman, and he's 26. He just turned 26 in October, by the way. Like, he started the year at 25. That's so goofy.
Yeah, like, the amount of records he's already set, and the awards and accolades and everything is it is truly impressive.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a little surprised reading this. It makes sense when I really break it down year by year, but Cale Makar, 1 Norris Trophy, and that's it. He's like, I think that makes sense given the years other people have had and stuff, but I think it's been at least 2 or 3 years people have been saying he's the best defenseman in the league now. And it feels like he's always one of the best guys. It just feels surprising that he doesn't have at least 2 at this point.
Yeah.
But he's got the Norris Trophy there to match his Conn Smythe in that same year. Just an unreal defenseman. He hits, he blocks, he's insane offensively, very good defensively. His last several seasons, 86 points in 77 games, 28 goals. Good God.
Yeah.
Genuinely didn't know. I knew he'd hit 20 at least. I did not know he had 28. 66 in 60 games, 17 goals, 90 seasons last year. Last season, 90 points for 21 goals in only 77 games. This season, 45 points, 11 goals in 37 games. Like, just absolutely incredible. And then obviously he's awesome in the playoffs as well. 29 points, 8 goals in 20 games for the Conn Smythe. 5 and 6, 15 and 11, 10 and 10, 15 and 15. I think for 15 and 15, he would have been, 21 years old at that point. Like, there's a reason everyone calls him the best defenseman in the league.
Yeah.
And Quinn Hughes is knocking on the door, but
Makar is he's still number one.
Yeah, if he has anything to say about it, he'll be staying there. So we'll have to see how those two shape up to end the season. Because right now, unless Werenski really turns it up, he's the only guy even close to within striking distance between Makar and Hughes. And with Hughes being week to week now, it might be Makar's to lose. And I don't think he's going to lose.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
So you know what, honestly, if you're a sports betting guy, I imagine you won't get a lot of money. I imagine the odds are pretty brutal, but Cale Makar is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. Moving on to number 5. Best goal scorer in the league. Best hairline in the league. Austin Matthews. Going back to the, again, COVID bubble year, kind of the Canadian division, 66 points, 52 games, 41 of those being goals. Following year, 106 points, 73 games, 60 goals. The next year, 85 points, 74 games, 40 tucks. Last year, 107 points in 81 games, 69 goals. One off from that nice round 70 mark, but hey, you end the year with 69 goals. That's a win. And then this year, missed a lot of time due to injuries, but still 23 points in 24 games, 11 goals. And in the playoffs, 48 points in 55 games. He has a Calder. He has 3 Rocket Richards in the last couple of years. He's got a Hart and a Ted Lindsay. He's the best pure goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, would be right up there with all the other guys this season if he had remained healthy and all season hadn't missed as much time as he has. But when he's in the lineup, when he's playing, he's well over a point per game guy. He just scores at an insane pace. He's got the best shot in the league. Like it's really like you can only say so much about it. It's like everything you can say is you can just observe it with what he does. He is just a phenomenal talent, and yeah, it's really just incredible watching him out on the ice, really.
And you know what? This is a little bit of a memory game, considering I just said the number a little bit ago. But let's play a very quick guessing game. It's just a which do you think is higher? Do you think so? Austin Matthews is 1 year older. He's 27, about 10 months older than Cale Makar. Cale Makar, what do you think is higher? Cale Makar's career points, which we were just talking about how goofy they are already, or Austin Matthews' goal total in his career?
Ooh.
And I will say it's close. It's very close.
Sure. What did you say Makar's was? I think Makar's got to be a little bit higher still.
You would be correct, but as recently as maybe a week ago, it probably wasn't, because Austin Matthews over his entire career already 379 goals.
What was Makar again?
Cale Makar 381 points.
381. I was thinking 387 or something. So yeah, so within 2.
Makar has been so insane, and in only being a year older, Matthews has only 2 less goals than overall regular season points that Makar has. And that's with Matthews dealing with a good amount of injuries so far as well. He's missed quite a few games. Like, this guy's goal per game is going to end up being right up there with the absolute best to ever do it. Like, he is he only needs a few more seasons at the pace he's been at to be right beside, guys like he'll in like 4 seasons, he'll be 31 years old and already be legitimately in the conversation of like a top 5 goal scorer all time. Like
Yeah,
he's is just ludicrous. Like
it is insane what he
69 goals
does.
last year. Like
Yeah, like
scoring
that's just
60 was
ridiculous.
mind-boggling before. Then there was the one outlier year where Ovi had 65, and then before that it was like I don't know, probably Lemieux or Gretzky was the last guy to score like that. And then he put up 69 last year. Like and
Yeah,
not even a Hart finalist. Like last year was cracked.
yeah, it was. Yeah, he's a phenomenal player and definitely is rightfully earned his place in the top 5 in the league.
Do you wanna take 4?
Yeah,
You wanna take 4 here?
yeah, I can take
For a
4.
very non-specific reason.
Number 4 from Germany, the Edmonton Oilers' own Leon Draisaitl. Last few years, just insane. 84 points, 56 games, 31 goals, 110 points in 80 games, 55 goals, 128 points in 80 games, 52 goals. Last year, 106 points, 41 goals in 81 games. This year, in 36 games, already 26 goals, leads the league in that category, 55 points. In the playoffs, 74 games played, 108 points. Only 3 awards to his name, but all coming in the same season. He does have an Art Ross, a Hart Memorial, and a Ted Lindsay. Uh,
Which, quite frankly, is insane. He won an Art Ross, a Hart, and a Ted Lindsay while playing with Connor McDavid. That's
fun.
nuts.
I'm gonna
Like
have to.
how?
I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on Drysdale to figure out what happened here. In 2013, he represented Germany in the World Juniors. 6 games played, 6 points. 2014 World Juniors, 6 game played, 6 points. His first time around, he had 2 penalty minutes. Second time around, 52 in 6 games played. So I don't know. I don't
52
know.
in
I
six
don't. I,
games?
I don't know what Drysdale was getting up to in the World Juniors.
You take like 2 game misconducts.
He must have.
Even then, there's still a lot more you have to get. Like
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing, but that's some of those. That's some pretty wild numbers there. But he's for the last 5-6 years, he's unanimously been in that conversation of top 5 players, ranged anywhere from people putting him at 5 all the way up to even 2 at sometimes to 4 to 3. Never
yeah,
one, but he's always been in that top 5, and he
but
remains in there
yeah,
for a good reason.
the
Is
other guys in that 2 to 5 range also never sniffed one. Like
Yeah,
so, that's a common denominator. And uh, I I mean, easily everyone should have him in their top 5 playoff performers. Honestly, like I definitely have him in my top 3. I think everyone should probably have him in their top 3 playoff performers as well. Like this guy's unreal in the playoffs. 32 points in 16 games. He was just in 16 games, 2 points per game in the playoffs. That's
yeah,
nuts. 18 in 12 games, which is pretty damn good. 13 of them were goals. And 30 last year, everyone talked about how quiet he was in the finals. He still ended with 10 goals, 31 points in 25 games.
yeah.
Like,
He's a playoff beast. He's a regular season beast. He really gets it. All done. He really cemented himself as a top 5 when McDavid goes down with an injury and Draisaitl just picks up the team and carries them on his back without McDavid. So yeah, he's an absolute freak and will remain in the top 5 players in the league for quite a while still. Here, I think.
yeah, I don't think he's in danger of losing that spot really anytime soon, honestly. Like, we've had a couple of guys who have had a couple 100-point seasons here or there. Matthews maybe scores a little less goals and a couple more points, breaks it. Panarin had the one good year. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 500-point seasons.
Yeah,
Like, just just lights out, man. Like, yeah, yes, he plays in Edmonton, he plays with McDavid, but not all the time on the same line. And I mean, damn, nobody else is. Well, I was gonna say nobody else is putting up 100 points with them, but I guess Nugent Hopkins did once.
Yeah,
But
once.
five
Yeah,
times is a lot more different than once, especially when one of them is 128 points.
yeah,
And one of them, he had Art Ross, which means he had more points than McDavid.
yeah.
So, yeah, just absolutely unreal player. Um, Moving on to number 3, we have Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Um, so, obviously, I'm a Lightning fan. I absolutely love Kucherov to death. Um, I was watching for something that didn't come up until Draisaitl, and I thought it would show up way earlier than that. Um, Maybe at least the 10 range, maybe 13, 14, 15. And because I love to look at Kucherov's stats and glaze all the time. Um, Not a lot of guys have 100-point seasons, as I was just saying. And if they have one, they maybe have one or two, but that's it. Um, and that really helps separate some of these really top guys, these guys who are like borderline generational players, because like Kucherov's had one, two, three. He's had 400-point seasons, and then he's also got seasons where he's got like eight. He's got 85 points in 60 games. Like he had other seasons where he was clearly on pace for it. Like so many of these other guys, like even Panarin, who is a point scoring machine, he had I think 100-point season. So like some of these guys at the top having so many, and it is just absolutely crazy how much they separate themselves from the pack. 100 points in 80 games, 128 in 82, 85 and 68, 69 and 47, 113 and 82, 144 last year with 100 assists, and this year he's at 54 and 32. Like
Yeah.
just a scoring machine. Like it's just automatic. Like there are some games where I'm like paying attention, I'm watching, and I'm like, man, he looks good out there. Oh fuck, he's got a 5-point night. I literally saw him have a 6-point night in person, and at the end of the game I was like, hey, Kucherov had a pretty good game, didn't he? Because I was hyping up everybody else.
Yeah.
Like he's so sneaky good when he's out there, and he's for my money probably the other guy I would round out the top 3 playoff performers with. 167 points in 147 playoff games over his career. Like won the Art Ross last year. Just an absolute beast out there.
Yeah, he's just such a phenomenal player, and I mean, yeah, like I can't really add much more onto it. Everything you've said. So
Yeah, it's I have some thoughts on it for sure, but like he's so good, and I made a little bit of an argument to have him at 2, but at the end of the day, I don't mind him being at 3 at all.
yeah,
The guy who is at 2 deserves
rightfully
it.
so. Yeah, regardless, I think there's no debate. He's for sure in the top 3.
Yeah,
I'll do 2. You want to do 1?
sure. I think at this point everyone probably knows the order. But yeah, we can go for it.
Number 2, obviously no surprise here, from the Edmonton Oilers. Nah, just kidding. We're going to Colorado. It is Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, just going over his numbers. Maybe not as impressive as some of the other guys, but still. 88 points in 65 games. That was the year they won the Stanley Cup. 32 of those being goals. Following year, 111 points in 71 games, 42 goals. Last year, 140 points, 51 games played. 51 goals, 82 games played. And this year, 60 points in 37 games, 14 of them being goals. He's got a Calder, a Lady Byng, and then last year he won the Hart Memorial Trophy and the Ted Lindsay. Should have won one. I don't know if he should have won both, but and in the playoffs, 114 points in 88 games.
Like, just all these guys at the top here are just so unreal. And, similar to how I was saying with both Kucherov and Draisaitl, how they have, they really separate themselves with all these 100-point seasons. McKinnon's got 2, but like he's got several seasons there where he was either on pace to do it and just didn't get to play enough games, or he's got a 99-point season, he's got a 97-point season, he's got a 93-point season. Like he's been producing at over a 100-point pace for a long time now, and he is going to shatter that this year again. And he's one of those guys very similar to a Kucherov. Draisaitl elevates in the playoffs and is just lights out.
Yeah, exactly right. Like with these guys, we could sit here and say a bunch of things about them for hours, but I mean, we all know about them. We know about their play, and it speaks for himself. And I will let you wrap this one up here and bring it home with our number 1 pick.
And of course, number 1, the best player in the NHL right now, over the past several years, whatever you want to call it, it's Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers. It has to be. If you say something else, you're coping. I'm sorry, but dude, I have Kucherov on my team, and I can't even make the argument. Like, watch McDavid play for a period, and anyone could tell you. Like, he is just so bonkers out there watching him play. Like, he is never not dangerous. And I think that's something that that really it sounds insane, but it separates him from other generational players. Like even guys like Matthews, Kucherov, McKinnon, Draisaitl, Crosby. These guys are dangerous 80% of their shifts, at least. Right?
Yeah.
But, there's some times where I'm like, McKinnon's just kind of hanging out. He's doing his thing. Kucherov's just chilling. He's waiting for something to happen. Connor McDavid is 100% of his shifts. I swear to God, it's every time he touches the ice. I don't know if he's just that proactive. Maybe he doesn't trust his teammates to make the play, so he feels forced to do it. But whatever it is, he can't have a boring shift out there. He's incapable of it. And it's funny because he's everyone knows he's like the best skater in the league, right? And he just glides out there. He just flies like he's not even touching the ice. Meanwhile, a guy like McKinnon's also an incredibly fast, great skater, but he skates so different. He skates like he hates the ice. Like he feels like he's attacking it. And McDavid just literally looks like he's flying. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 100-point seasons in his career. He's going to do it again this year. One of those years he didn't hit it was 97 points in 64 games. The other was his rookie year. So he's already earlier this season we celebrated him at 1,000 points. He's already at 1,034 in his career. 52 points in 33 this season. 132 in 76, 153 in 82, 64 goals that year. 123 in 80, 105 in 56. Like, just insane. Like, look at all these freaking awards. I can't even count that shit, man. Art Ross, Hart, Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, Hart, Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, Hart. There's the Rocket, Ted Lindsay, and a Conn Smythe without winning the cup. Because he
was just that good.
Rightfully so. He was undeniable. 42 points in 25 playoff games. He just kind of had to.
Yeah.
And then before that, 20 and 12, 33 and 16. Like, you can't. We all know it's true, but for the very small percentage of people that want to argue Makar because he's a defenseman, McKinnon because he's got that motor or whatever, Matthews because goal scoring, you just can't. You just look at this guy play and you just can't.
He's undoubtedly number 1 and rightfully so. He is like the definition of a franchise player, along with a lot of other guys are but generational action. He's just a beast, and what really brought it home was definitely especially getting that Conn Smythe despite not winning the cup. Like, that rarely ever happens.
It's only happened twice
He's
for a
just,
player.
yeah, like he's
It's
just
happened
on
a
a
few times
different
for goalie.
level. Um,
Yeah.
so, but that does wrap up our list of our top 50 players heading into the year 2025. Yeah, that's
Goddamn,
about
that was
it.
a list.
That was a list and a half. I think that was the perfect way to wrap up this year of 2024. The next episode you guys will be hearing will be in the year of 2025. We are looking forward to that. We have a lot of big stuff coming up in the year of 2025. A lot of things planned that we are looking forward to getting the ball rolling with and getting that going and bringing that to you guys. So, Braden, do you have any final thoughts, any final words of wisdom, any last things you want to say before we wrap this one up here and head off into the new year?
I mean, I guess good luck Buffalo, 3-game win streak, trying to crawl out of the hole they've created. They're currently tied with the Red Wings for points. They're one behind the Rangers. Rangers, who are in the bottom of the Metro division, by the way. Yikes. Uh I mean, who knows? Maybe the Sabres are way better in 2025 than in 2024. I mean, we've seen St. Louis do it. Playoffs aren't set in stone yet. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it could happen.
It's out there. It's always out there for sure.
It'd be fun to watch, especially to break this playoffless streak. What a run it would be.
Yeah.
That would be so fun.
But yeah, that will wrap up everything we got for this episode. Once again, we do want to thank everybody for tuning in and showing us constant support all the way throughout the year as we soldier on here into the year of 2025, where we have a lot of special and fun stuff planned for you guys. Again, if you want to join in on any of the hockey talk going on, any of the World Juniors talk, any NHL talk, anything revolving hockey going on around, you can do so by clicking on any of the links down the description on any episode. All the links are there. You can come over, come say hi, come talk hockey, just hang out. That's what we love to do. We just love to hang out, talk hockey, and have a good time. We'd love to do that with you guys. So
yeah, and we're uploading on YouTube now. All of our episodes from here on out are going up on YouTube. So if you don't have if you don't have the Twitter, you don't have the Blue Sky yet or anything like that, comment something at us on the YouTube. Let us know. Hey, I love these types of episodes. Maybe you don't like some types of episodes. Maybe you want us to do more trivia. Maybe you want us to do less. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of our takes on the teams, because it's just, yeah, half the reason we made the podcast is because we were already talking hockey anyway, and we want to get your guys' opinions on it. So absolutely let us know. And yeah, it's just always a great time interacting with
it's
people,
always
right?
always a fantastic time, 100%. But that will wrap up everything for this special year-end episode for the wrap-up of 2024. One final time, we do want to say thank you to everybody. We hope you guys enjoyed. And that is it. We'll see you guys out on the ice in the year of 2025.